to Baseball Night in America, NASCAR, the MLB All-Star Game, the UFC, NCAA football, the NFL, and the World Series. America's biggest events are on Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports!
There's a lot that can happen in 1 mile. This is no ordinary mile. For extraordinary talent, it can be driven in the blink of an eye, or it can be a tough, treacherous, all-day ride. Today, you'll see why it's a driver's track. Why this is the Monster Mile.
There you go, baby. Oh, awesome. This is my race, baby. This is my race. Hell yeah, boy. Yeah. Great job, guys.
NASCAR on Fox welcomes you to Dover, Delaware. The weather is terrific, and you have a front row seat to watch drivers meet the challenge head on. The turnaround season continues for Greg Biffle. For Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's been 4 years since his last win, and 5-time is gone showtime. That's just some of the talent on display today. The 13th race of the year, just passing the 1/3 mark of the season, 400 miles, 400 laps. I'm Chris Myers. Glad you could join us for the Fox wrap-up race for this season. As always, good to have our guys, Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip, excited for a big show, a big race. So what are you looking forward to today?
Well, I'm looking for management. You're going to have to manage your tires, you're going to have to manage your fuel, and you're going to have to manage your anger. Those are 3 things you're going to have to take care of today if you want to win.
Strategy will come into play late in this race. We can see 2 tires, no tires. Guys will take chances. Winning is big this point in the year. You want to make sure you get to victory lane. Sliding sideways off the corner, something else I love watching for, but strategy at the end.
A real tipping point. Let's look at some of the storylines and 4 drivers who are in the top 10 in points, but they have yet to get a victory. You got Carl Edwards, you have Kevin Harvick, you have Martin Truex Jr., and Dale Earnhardt Jr. So they've been consistent. We've actually in the last 8 races have had 8 different winners. So which of those are you concerned about, and who do you think is going to be okay?
Well, believe it or not, and no disrespect to your man, but Martin Truex, I know he's sitting up here in 6 in the points, but he needs a win. And, you know, he won here in 2007. A win today would go a long way in solidifying his position in the chase. Martin needs to step it up a notch.
I think Carl Edwards, he's back in 10th in points. A year ago, he was leading the points. Last year, 4 top 2 finishes, including a win. This year, just 2 top 5s. He led 10 of 12 races going into this race in 2011. This year, he's only led 2 races, so he's struggling a little bit.
All right, some of the contenders, and then let's check on championship contenders. They're at a different level, but after last week, they're hoping to bounce back. Jimmie Johnson, 5-time. This was uncharacteristic with a pit stop that cost him a chance to be up at the front and win the race in the Coke 600. And when Brad Keselowski and Tony Stewart got together, it forced Tony to take the Grand Circle route to get back to his pit. So with more green flag pit stops and longer green flag pit stops here, those pit crews, this illustrates how much more of a team sport this is, not just about the driver.
And look, it was the veteran drivers that were making the mistakes. And I think we say it all the time. You can make up hundreds of seconds on the track, but you can make up seconds in the pits. And pit strategy has become so important. Everybody runs the same speed. These crews are under an incredible amount of pressure. I think it's ironic that the winning pit crew from a pit crew challenge, Jimmie Johnson, they had trouble in the pits that probably cost him a shot at the race.
I think the drivers feel the pressure, too, when they come onto pit road. They know how hard they have to drive to get to pit road, and they get sideways sliding in there, maybe get a penalty on entry. They also have to go as fast as they can down the pit road to get in their box. So they have a lot of pressure on the driver to do his job so the pit crew can in turn do theirs.
And Greg Biffle changed his entire pit crew from last year. One of the reasons he's leading the way so far this season. Here's what's around the turn as we count you down to the start of the race here in Dover, Delaware. Much more on the track they call the Monster Mile. We'll take a closer look at what has already been a roller coaster ride for the season. And with drivers, their portfolio, which stock is up, which stock is down. As they head toward the chase, we'll talk with Greg Biffle live and gas and go, or should we call it gas and gone? Welcome back. NASCAR on Fox from Dover International Raceway. We could witness a dubious NASCAR record today. No pole sitter has won in the last 29 races. Mark Martin on the spot, hoping to end that streak. 30 would be the new all-time mark. We love coming to Delaware this time of year for the racing and for the golf. The NASCAR community gathering to rally support in the Drive for Autism, the event raising over $4 million for autism research over the last 11 years. So we asked the driver of the 11 car to be our on-course reporter.
Hey, Denny Hamlin here at the Autism Speaks Golf Tournament in Dover. And everyone knows how avid of a golfer I am. But I want to see how good my competition is. Let's go see how good they are away from the racetrack.
Good to meet you.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
What's up? Well, we're here to raise awareness for autism, but I'm here just to have fun.
Matt, you looking good today? Looking like you're ready for golf?
Yeah, you like my golf attire?
Well, I haven't played in 2 years.
Man, I want to hit some long drives. I want to make some putts.
So I'm making a comeback, and I wasn't very good when I quit.
All right, we're leading them off. Let's do this.
We're here for the Drive for Autism to raise money for autism research and programs and treatments, and we could not do it without people like you, Denny.
I got the form, you know, I get the swing, I get the rhythm.
But I give it a foot wedge and I'm back in balance. I've never seen anything like it.
Nobody notices anyway. So, and then no wrist, exactly. Yeah, this guy's got great shoulders.
So how's your game?
My game is, you can ask your brother how my game is. It's good enough to beat him. Well, we just finished up the golf tournament. We raised a lot of awareness both through the golf tournament with the teams as well as all the auctions. Our team in particular didn't win, so we got to come back next year with a vengeance. So can't wait to be a part of it again.
Thanks, Denny, and he'll be driving the FedEx Autism Speaks Toyota in this race. Denny's best finish here in Dover is fourth. His career runs, you have both played, and that's one of the items that they auctioned off. People are nice enough to donate and bid on to help.
Get down on him.
In the bigger
get down
picture.
on him.
He actually, Darrell plays the banjo.
Yeah, get down on him. Never went down to Georgia.
So, and how
two things in life that make it worth living.
How is golf like driving a?
Well, I tell you, you got to be creative.
No, does that mean bending
Elliott
the rules?
Sadler took a piece of string this long and turned it into a piece of string 4 times that long. You know how he did it? He unraveled it.
You also have to be competitive to be a good golfer and a great race car driver, and Denny Hamlin's certainly that. We play all the time, and man, I can't seem to get a leg up on him.
I'm just trying to say politely, you got to cheat.
All right. All right. There's a similarity there. Despite 2 wins this year, defending champ Tony Stewart feels like he's stuck in neutral. It's been a hit-or-miss season with more misses lately. But Tony can lean on 6 career wins in the month of June to get him back into that championship frame of mind.
The defending Sprint Cup champion, Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart will definitely be in the hunt.
He amazes me at the things that he does.
Tony Stewart won 2 of the first 5 races of this year, and although you've had some good finishes lately, Tony, it looks like you struggled the last couple weeks. Is that perception or is that reality?
No, that's definitely reality. We've definitely hit a rough spot both Charlotte races. So you know, hopefully today's going to be a little better. I didn't do a very good job qualifying, and you know, Steve Addington won this race last fall with Kurt Busch. So we know the car's good. I just got to do a better job. I think I'm not adapting to the way these cars you know, like to be driven around here. So I'm going to try some different things today, see if I can do my job behind the wheel.
Tony, can you put your fingers on what exactly it is that's caused you to struggle?
No, not really, and that's, you know, that's the hard part is, you know, it's always a lot easier when you know what the problem is of knowing what to fix. But, you know, I got a good group of guys. I got a great crew chief with me now, and, you know, we'll work through it. I mean, that's what makes, you know, makes looking back at last year and those last 10 races and 5 wins out of that, that's what makes that so special. So, you know, that's the proof that we can be there. We just got to figure out how to get the equation back.
Good luck today, Tony.
All right, baby. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, he set the record with 5 wins in 10 races in the chase, but his 2 wins came the earliest this season for his career. He's a strong finisher, obviously.
But you remember he limped into the chase last year. He took himself out of it. He said, I don't deserve a spot in this chase, and then he goes and wins the championship. He's also very honest with himself. He said, I got to do a better job in the car. He's one of the greatest drivers in the world.
They were on a roll, and then we took that break, and I don't know what happened in that week off, but that's when everything went upside down, and they just haven't been the same since we came back from that break.
Yeah, including his teammate Ryan Newman. We have Gas and Go questions. We'll put these guys under the spotlight and ask them some tough ones. Also, as we count you down to the start of the race, who might take the crown from Tony Stewart? Greg Biffle is the man on top at the moment, and we'll talk live with him coming up. NASCAR on Fox pre-race show is sponsored by Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speed. Glad you're with us. This race, 400 laps, 400 miles. And for years, Michael Waltrip thought a 401k was the winner's share here at Dover, and an IPO was where you went to get pancakes.
Leave that alone.
So we asked Darrell to help Michael and all of us connect the stock market to NASCAR this season. So here are some insider racing tips on which driver's stock is rising or falling.
Hey, folks, it's time for the NASCAR on Fox Stock Watch. Early on, Kasey Kahne was a commodity that no one wanted to touch. But now, hey, boy, he's a market rally. I know you hedge fund managers love to take risks. And sometimes they pay off, like Denny Hamlin. And sometimes they don't. Listen, we all know there is no other driver more volatile than Kyle Busch. And you know, investors are seeing an early return, but are they one eruption away from a sell-off? The two greatest words on the market are sure and thing. And folks, nobody has been that more than five-timer Jimmy Johnson. Frankly, I kind of go for the more popular stocks. And you got to admit, Dale Jr. has not disappointed. Earlier on this season, the IPO and Stewart-Haas, well, they broke all kinds of records. But folks, lately, that team's stock, well, it's sort of plummeted. Not even the great Warren Buffett could have predicted the downward trend of the blue chip stock of Jeff Gordon. Normally, the 24 is a sure thing on the big board, but lately, panic investors have been selling off.
All right, historically, 8 drivers in this group, and you have the 2 wild cards, so of the 12, from this point in the season, they make the chase. And again, we're halfway there. So who's likely to drop in, move around? What do you think?
You know, it's strange to say Tony Stewart sitting there with 2 wins, but I think he could be in a little bit of trouble. If he doesn't get his car turned around, like he said, he needs to be able to feel it better. He could fall out. You've got Kasey Kahne with a win. He's coming. Keselowski's got 2. He could kick Tony out.
Yeah, you know what? I think Carl, I know I said Truex a bit ago, but I think Carl is a guy that's sitting on the hot seat because he has no wins, and he's got people nipping at his heels.
Right.
If he doesn't get a win, which he hadn't had a lot of wins lately, he could be in big trouble.
Yeah, and both Carl and Truex don't have those wins, which help you, if you're in the top 20 in points, move up as a wild card. Meanwhile, today, a lot on the line here on this Monster Mile track, and time for a little double trouble where you guys take us into the track. So what are you looking at?
I look at the exits of these corners. Man, it's wild when you come off. We saw in qualifying car after car sideways. Look at that. And that's trouble. But you know what double trouble is, Chris? Is when you come off the corner like that and there's someone beside you. It's a very narrow exit. You carry so much speed. Can he hold on to it? Look at that, right next to the wall. You carry so much speed on exit that it's really hard to hold your car down. You get sideways, you're into a cat.
Well, and because the track is so fast and the turns are so fast, this is, I know we talk about pit road every week, but this is the most treacherous pit road we have on the circuit. Watch, here's a guy that's one of the best. He's a champion. Matt Kenseth, and he can't get his car on pit road. And this is what we see time and time again here. You'll miss the entrance, and sometime if you're going a little too fast, you're in the water barrels.
Matt Kenseth up there in points, chasing Greg Biffle, who's had the turnaround season. We'll talk live with him. And you heard about Martin Truex Jr. looking for that first win of the season from nearby New Jersey. Won this race back in 2007. Hasn't won since. Will today be his day? We'll have more from Dover, Delaware in a moment.
The 2012 NASCAR on Fox season is over in Dover. And man, let me tell you, it's been an unpredictable ride. Defending champ Smoke started strong with 2 early wins, but has since found himself headed in the wrong direction. Instead, it's the Hendrick boys who found their groove, with the Dominator leading the way. But the Biff has been crushing the competition. Still NASCAR's top dog atop the points standings.
We welcome you back. King of the Hill was one of those entertaining cartoon comedies on Fox, but in real life, the animated Greg Biffle is NASCAR's King of the Hill so far. Talk about animation domination. He's been the points leader since the third race of the season, so we welcome the driver of the 16 Ford to our pre-race show. And Greg, thanks for being with us. I know your focus is on winning the race every weekend, but how closely are you following those point standings?
I'm paying attention to it, but like I've said, a few times now, it's important for us to win races and be, ready and make the chase. So if we lead the points all the way there, fine. If not, I'm not going to sweat that. I'm going to do the best I can every week, get in this car, drive 100%. And I'm not sure if this hat looks as good on me as it does Dick, but I got it on.
Hey, Greg, it's DW. Do you think you can drive a race car too hard?
I think you can, DW. Not as much anymore as you used to be able to. These tires, you used to have to take care of the car, take care of the tire. Today, this tire allows you to drive 100% or 95% all the time. That's why you see less passing and less, discrepancy between the cars. The cars are so close together because the tire's so good. And so I don't think you can overdrive the car as much as you used to be able to.
Hey, Greg, it's Michael. You came off turn 2 at Charlotte, leading the race and hit the wall. You're going to be sideways here today. Is this a fun place to race? Do you like all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, this is a fun place to race. I mean, you've got to respect this place because you let your guard down a little bit, and this place will reach out and bite you. This place is as treacherous as Darlington is. And I just hope that I keep it straight all day.
Thanks, Greg, and appreciate the tribute to our buddy Dick Bergman. All right, you take care. Have a good race.
Absolutely. Thank
you,
guys.
Good luck, buddy. Yeah, by the way, in the last 8 races, he's led the most laps. Greg Biffle has not won the race. Wonder if he's thinking about that. Time for gas and go, and you're on the clock. All right, Daryl, right now, Biffle is the odds-on favorite to win the championship. Is he? And if not, who?
Well, he's got to be the favorite.
Okay.
But I tell you, Matt Kenseth is so good and so consistent. I'd have to say Kenseth would be a good pick.
I'm liking those boys from Joe Gibbs. Kyle and Denny both are on a bit of a roll right now. They're going to be hard to beat.
All right. Michael, would it be acceptable if Dale Earnhardt Jr. or any other driver wins the championship without actually winning a race? It is mathematically possible.
Yes, certainly.
Yes.
I think it's perfect if you're able to win the championship. That's what we all show up for. Of course, you can't. I don't believe you can win a championship these days without winning races. Tony Stewart proved how important race wins were last year.
Like a kid ringing the bell.
I know. We'll put it away. All right, Daryl, for you, name a long shot driver who can rally and win the championship.
I hate to do this.
Come on.
Dale Jr.
Oh, really?
Right.
I think it's 4 years. When's he going to win a race?
By the time I get
to Phoenix, maybe next year. All right, he's going with Junior as a long shot. Michael, should drivers be rewarded more for winning races? Right now, 6 points is the maximum between the winner and the second-place driver.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. We put so much significance on winning, and it's important to get that car out front. I think maybe a couple more points for a win would be cool.
I don't think it makes any difference.
Okay. All right.
These guys drive their heart out every week.
All right, for both of you, from our fan sending in a question on Twitter. All right, if you could have one race at any track and a driver you want to race with, real quick, where would it be? Who would it be with?
I think I'd like to go to Bristol, and I'd like to challenge Brad Keselowski.
All right, how about you?
I want to go to Eldora and race Tony Stewart.
All right. Does this for you, Daryl? Hendrick Motorsports, we're in history with those 201 wins now. We talk about its place. Does it relate at all to Richard Petty's 200 wins as a driver?
I believe that Rick Hendrick deserves to be in the Hall of Fame right now. Those numbers are incredible, and he's only going to add to those numbers. What they've already accomplished, that puts that man in the Hall of Fame right now, in my opinion. Now, that driver right there with that thing on his head, I'm not sure about.
All right, that's all showtime for 5 time. All right, Daryl, before you head up to the play-by-play booth, we all want to wish our pit reporter Dick Bergman well. Today, his final broadcast with us on NASCAR on Fox. He's been a part of our crew from day one. 12 great years passionately covering auto racing over 3 decades. There's the king giving him a hat, noted for that hat that he wears, working so hard. And now we all want to support him in building a museum for racing fans, the New Hampshire International Speedway up there in the Northeast. And this weekend, we all paid tribute, a little tip of the cap to a good sport, a great reporter, and a great guy. And he got a standing ovation at the drivers' meeting this morning. It was a touching moment. Dick, we're going to miss you. Thanks for all the hard work. We welcome you back. By the way, our NASCAR on Fox pre-race show all season long, produced by Chuck McDonald, directed by Derek Manning. We thank them and all of the crew for their hard work on the show. You can choose which of the top 4 qualifiers will finish best in today's race. Text FAST at 34763 or go to AT&T fastestdriver.com to play. You can win 4 Gs just by playing along. And Michael Waltrip will have updates during the race, tweeting. All brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, Rethink Possible. Good crowd on hand. We mentioned the weather. Outstanding with Mark Martin on the pole and Jimmy Johnson alongside.
Yeah, the insiders think that maybe Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson have 2 of the fastest cars here. It'll be interesting to see how practice and not a whole lot of rubber on the track plays into the results of today's race.
Anxious to go today. Matt Kenseth won this race last year on the track they call the Monster Mile. Casey Kane coming off a big win last week. As we head trackside for opening ceremonies, we're glad you're with us here on Fox.
Race fans, please rise at this time. Present to you the Military District of Washington Armed Forces Color Guard for today's colors. And presenting today's invocation, Reverend Dan Schaefer, pastor of the Calvary Assembly of God in Hightstown, New Jersey.
Shall we pray? Almighty God, we pause at the Monster Mile, the most exciting NASCAR track in the East. We thank you for the privilege and the honor of enjoying this great sport. We thank you for the freedom of America. We thank you for those that are here today. We pray for our military around the world. And now, Almighty God, we ask you for a great race, for a safe race. We pray in Christ's name. Amen. Shalom.
And here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Season 8 American Idol winner, Chris Allen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and the home of the brave.
Jeff Gordon hoping to get into the victory column at the FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks. Here in Dover, Delaware, NASCAR on Fox continues. We're glad you're joining us for our NASCAR on Fox pre-race show from Dover, Delaware. In this week's University of Farmers Report, our Jeff Hammond gives a high five to the driver of the 5-car, Casey Kane.
Folks, let's talk about Casey Kane and how appropriate having the monster in the background, because he's had a monster of the year. Everybody thought when Casey Kane come out in the first part of 2012, he was just going to tear it up. But unfortunately, the monster got hold of him. He drug him down. But guess what? This team never quit. If you remember California, we talked about what it was going to take to turn this year around, and they've done it. They've been mentally tough. They've had fast race cars. They've had a great team, and this driver has never quit. And last weekend at the Coke 600, they finally put it all together. They've clawed their way back up in the points, and now Casey Kane's a winner. We did it, guys! And he's a part of the Hendrick winning organization and has now joined part of that Hendrick legacy.
Thanks, Jeff. Casey's been hot lately, but Matt Kenseth has been steady. In fact, he's the only driver, Michael, to finish in the top 5 in both of the Dover races last season.
Yeah, and he's coming in here on a bit of a row. He's got 3 straight top 10 finishes. Matt's Mr. Consistency. See if he can get a win today.
What about Kyle Busch?
Hey, 4 top 5s in a row. How about that? He's on a roll, too. I like that team right now.
Let's head back down to hear those magic words we enjoy every weekend.
And now for those famous words in all of motorsports, Delaware's Governor Jack Markell.
Welcome to Delaware, and drivers, start your engines!
Michael and I will be watching the race from here along with you and hope you enjoy it around this 1 mile track. Let's welcome in the guys every weekend. NASCAR on Fox to call the race for you. Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, Mike Joy continuing the tribute to Dick Bergen with his style hat. And Mike, anxious to get this race underway.
Well, absolutely, Chris, and largely because of the great unknown. With a tip of the hat to my friend and colleague of 40 years, Dick Berggren. Darrell, I talked to a driver this morning who said the track's going to start out loose and then it's going to go tight. And another driver on the same team thinks the track's going to start out tight and it's going to go loose. What do we know for sure? Anything?
Well, here's what a driver has to do today. His car's never going to be perfect, just like you said. What you've got to worry about, am I better than everybody else? And that's really what it comes down to. I've heard guys leading this race complaining about their car, and their crew chief has to say, dude, you may not like it, but you're better than everybody else. That's what today is all about, being better than everybody else.
All right, so when Dick was a college professor, he would have called this grading on the curve. I get it. Larry? Welcome to the world's fastest 1 mile roller coaster.
Yeah, this is absolutely the fastest 1 mile racetrack that we go to. But we actually have more action on the straightaway here than we do in the corner. For that reason, my driver can never let his guard down. His spotter has to be on his game, and the driver and his team along pit road, they have to be on their game. If you go back to the 2 races last year, this race was won by the driver and his team that played the right card on that final pit stop.
Eat the crab cakes, not the concrete.
We've had plenty of crab cakes. We're going to get our dose of concrete right here. You are watching NASCAR on Fox. From the concrete canyons of the Monster Mile, NASCAR on Fox presents the FedEx 400, benefiting Autism Speeds. Here's today's Geico starting grid. On the pole, Mark Martin. 5th Dover pole, most of all active drivers, and Jimmy Johnson, 6-time winner here. Row number 2, Ryan Newman, a 3-time Dover winner, and Clint Boyer with his best start in 13 tries here. Matt Kenseth has won here twice, including last year, and Kevin Harvick dominated the truck race Friday before the rains came. Greg Biffle and Kyle Busch each have 2 victories here at Dover. Kurt Busch, last fall's winner. Denny Hamlin's been 4th here twice. Joey Logano won here yesterday. He got a dog in the offseason. And Eric Almirola makes his first Cup start at Dover. Casey Kane's last week winner right there with Jeff Gordon in row 7. And as you look back through Brad Keselowski, Jeff Burton, and the rest of the starting lineup, DW is on the phone.
Kyle Busch, is DW. You got a copy there, buddy?
Hey, mic check 1, 2. Is this thing on?
Yeah, it's working good. Hey, how's the old concrete car for today?
I think it's all right. You know, the M&M Camry's been good since we unloaded. We worked on it, trying some different things just to see if we could find some speed. And may have thought that we found some comfort, but didn't find any speed. So hopefully today we've got a fast race car.
Yeah, man. I mean, you've got 4 top 5s the last 5 races here. How do you feel for today? Good?
Yeah, I think today's just as good of a day as any to try to break through and get a win. We love coming to Dover. It's been a good place for us in the past, and concrete's always fun to race on. It certainly is a challenge. It might be a little bit of a challenge to pass, but you got to get creative to get it done. So hope we can do it today.
Well, watch out for Miles and have a good ride.
That's right on there. Thanks.
We'll get down to our pit whip, our NASCAR on Fox All-Star pit crew, and it's always been a great privilege to throw down to the Dean of Pit Road Reporters, Dick Berggren.
Thanks, Mike. Jimmie Johnson has the best recent record of any driver here at Dover. In the last 6 races here, he has led the most laps. Not in one of them or 2 of them, but in each of the 6. And he has won 3 of them. He's qualified well. Johnson, the 5-time champ, starts on the front row. Steve Burns.
Thanks for the memories, Dick. Hey, Matt Kenseth made his very first start here in 1998. He was a hit from the very start. He finished 6th, filling in for Bill Elliott. He's got 2 wins here, but most importantly, 12 top 5 finishes. Matt Kenseth starts 5th today. Matt Yoakum.
Steve, Denny Hamlin calls his Dover racing history mediocre at best. A pair of fourths, his best results here. He's hit upon some consistency this season after starting out much like a heart monitor all over the map with results. A pair of seconds coming into Dover. His big concern today, though, how this racetrack will change over the different cycles of the day. His tires will be a storyline. Chris Devoda.
When Carl Edwards first came here in the Truck Series, he thought, I've got this figured out. He then wrecked twice. He thought he was fired. Instead, he's been humbled. In the last 5 years, he has only finished outside the top 10 at this track once, and that was 11. Still looking for his first win of the season. He has a monster of a chance today. Jeff Hammond.
Krista, if you want to wind up winning here at Dover, you've got to be careful right here off of turn 2. To me, this could be calamity corner of the day. Going in this narrow back straightaway, we call the canyon, make a mistake, and you're going to wind up collecting a lot of race cars. Remember, this racetrack is self-cleaning. Don't get caught up in the process.
Thanks, Jeff. Today's race brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. It is a perfect day in the capital city of the first state. The temperature is going to be in the high 70s. There's a nice breeze from out of the southwest. A few lazy clouds in the sky that will increase as we go through these 400 miles. Pit road speed 35 miles an hour, fuel window 70-80 laps.
70-80 laps, but the trend this year has been drivers short pitting, trying to take advantage of fresh tires.
Field is in turn 3. The lights are out atop the Toyota Camry safety car. We are ready to race in the first state.
Well, it's been a good first 12 races. Looking forward to a great race today. Thank you all the fans for the support for us guys on Fox. And, you know, I think today's going to be one of our best. I like the way things are starting off. Got Mark Martin on the pole. Flagman with the green flag in the air. But anybody, we'll see you in Daytona, boys.
Jimmie Johnson draws even with Martin entering turn 1. Edges ahead in turn 2. The outside lane moves. Here comes Bowyer for third. Gets loose off the corner. Newman retakes third. Kenseth drops to the inside, and Bowyer fends him off. Rounding turn 4 for the first time. You're going to see a lot of that 48 out front today, including lap 1.
And you know, there's so much pride in leading the first lap. If you're on the pole, you want to prove that you got the fastest car. If you're not, you want to prove that you deserve to be on the pole.
Bowyer still up high, battling Kenseth for 4th place. Kevin Harvick on the inside in black and white, with Kyle Busch flanking him. 4 cars under a blanket off 4, and Kenseth clears Bowyer to take over 4th place.
Yeah, Clint got hung on the outside in that 15 car when he got loose off 2, and he just now found the bottom of the racetrack. Daryl, I found it unusual. Mark Martin, our pole sitter, did not choose to start that race in the outside line.
Old school. I mean, that would be like I qualified second, man. He didn't want to do that.
Greg Biffle on the move. Must have been that Berggren hat he wore riding around the track in pre-race. He gets loose but makes the pass on Harvick and moves Biffle's Ford up to 7th.
Right now it's like riding a skateboard. I mean, you're just all over the place, and the way this track is shaped, you see the straightaways are banked 9 degrees. They're short 1,000 feet. This joint right now, you got your hands full.
Looking at Greg Biffle in that 16 car, our points leader for 10 consecutive weeks. We were talking this week after watching him lead the race at Charlotte. There's not a driver out there that drives a race car harder than Greg Biffle.
And Larry, that's why I asked him in the pre-race, can you drive too hard? I don't think today you can. A 400 lapper, you better get after it.
Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch. Remember, Kurt won here last fall, driving for Roger Penske. And Jeff Gordon started right where he's running, 14th. And Busch started 9th. He's dropped now to 15th, maybe 16th as Dale Jr. pulls alongside on the inside. Joey Logano with him. Logano won here yesterday.
Yeah, Busch ran 4th here yesterday. So those two guys, they know what the track's got. They know what they are dealing with here early in this race.
Logano clears a fading Kurt Busch, Keselowski right behind him, and then Martin Truex. And boy, Biffle's car has been loose every lap. For the lead, Mark Martin gets around Jimmy Johnson and made it look as if Jimmy had waved him by.
And maybe did. He may have, because that was pretty planned, looked to me like. Pretty well planned. But I think right now, if I were the rest of the field, the way Jimmy Johnson qualified and the way Jimmy Johnson's running and the way Jimmy Johnson kind of owns this joint, I'd be worried about that 48.
Yeah, Jimmy has led the last 10 races we've run here, and he's led the most laps in 6 of those 10. Biffle and Harvick have a look at the number 16 Ford up top here a couple laps ago.
Whoa, whoa, baby. That,
big pile up back straightaway.
Oh my gosh.
Looks like 10 cars in it.
There's Tony Stewart.
Juan Montoya, the 42.
There's so much carnage, I can't tell who all is in it.
Both the BK cars. There's Landon Castle. You
Scott
just saw
Speed
Travis Quapple, Scott Speed, the 79.
Smokes car.
Tony Stewart, who did not have a great qualifying run, restarted toward the back. Montoya's in it, and Gilliland in the 38. Now watch Tony Stewart side by side with Landon Castle behind McMurray.
Whoa, they make contact right there, and that's a no-no. Jeff Hammond just standing over there in that very spot, saying, you know, you got to really watch turn 2. It's treacherous. By golly, he was right.
Reagan gets by. Regan Smith spinning. Montoya down into the wall with Gilliland. And now watch this next group coming in. Here's where it starts. Remember, Jeff said these banks are self-cleaning. Everything slides to the bottom. But somebody turned Michael McDowell, and there's another pile of cars in it.
We talked about it before the race. Things just happen so fast here at this 1 mile racetrack.
You're coming out of that corner, Mike, at 150 miles an hour. And right, even when the spotter's hollering at you way back there where you see that 78 car get sideways, you just can't slow down. Actually, it was Scott Speed's car.
And Stephen Light to the list. It's a big funnel, and everything just all tries to cram into one spot when a car gets sideways. Like this. Wow. Juan Montoya's Chevrolet, or what's left of it, heads toward the garage. We are under caution for a grinding crash at Dover on lap 9.
The FedEx 400 Benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by FedEx. Solutions that matter. By Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speak. And by Ford, proud sponsor of NASCAR.
9 laps complete. Red flag as Tony Stewart walks away from his car after an 11-car pileup initiated. Landon Castle came down the track a little bit in turn 2. Tony Stewart went up the track, and they make contact.
Yeah, plenty of room right here. Everything looks fine. You see Landon maybe comes down a little bit, and Tony's pushing up. You can see Tony's got the wheels turned hard, pretty hard left, but he makes contact with the left rear of the 83 car, and it's on from there.
Regan Smith can't slow down. His momentum carries him into Tony, and now the track is blocked. Nowhere to go.
And you see these guys, you see the tires smoking, and you see them trying to slow down, but you can't stop a race car on a dime when you're going 150 miles an hour.
Watch the 79,
Bam.
Scott Speed, yellow number on the roof. He piles into Castle, and he gets tagged by Stephen Light and Joe Nemechek. 13 cars in all are involved, including this one, Casey Mears.
Spin on the middle of two, keep going on the top, outside of it, outside, go to the middle.
All right, here's Matt.
And Mike, Landon Castle's had an opportunity to look at 3 different versions of the incident. What took place from your perspective, Landon?
Well, I mean, I was real loose off anyways, and I actually didn't even feel him touch me. I don't know if he did. You know, Tony's one of the most patient drivers, especially in this part of the race. So, you know, I was just gotten passed by the one, and I was trying to dime in the corner a little bit more, and, you know, he was just barely there. If he got me, if he even touched me or if he didn't, you know, when there's a car there, it gets you real loose. So, and I was already loose. But Tony's a super patient driver. He's one of the best. So, you know, it's just too bad that it tore up that many race cars. I really hate it for my guys and all the other teams out here that got a long month of June ahead of us. So, but we'll just keep working hard, and we had a great run last week at Charlotte with the Burger King Toyota. So we'll keep working towards Pocono and Michigan.
A lot of work to get this race car back out on the racetrack. Let's go across the garage area for more with Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, thanks, man. You know, we talked about this at the very beginning of the show, folks, that this could be Calamity Corner. I was standing here watching what was going on with Tony and Landon Castles, and Tony had been running a high groove a couple of laps before, and he decided to kind of follow. I guess his air pressure had come up. He'd gotten to the bottom of the racetrack. He passed the 34 car, and just as he gained on Landon Castles, it was like he all but got sideways off this part of the corner. Watching it, Tony was so close, along with Regan Smith. If either one of those cars could have just gotten off the other, it probably would have been a different result. But we talked about it. This is a self-cleaning racetrack. When one person makes a mistake, they all go up, they all come back down. But here on this back straightaway we call the canyon, all of a sudden the canyon was blocked and nowhere to go. And you can see that's the reason why we have a red flag condition, guys. This is one of the byproducts of the Monster Mile.
I actually think, looking at that if 78 car hadn't gotten into the back of Tony Stewart, I don't think we would have had this big of a problem. But that really is what created a bigger mess.
13 cars have at least some damage from this accident. And one reason, as Jeff pointed out, it's Calamity Corner because the following cars are accelerating hard toward the exit and outside of the corner. They can't just dive to the bottom to miss somebody in trouble.
And you can't see all that well right there, Mike. I mean, that literally, you're up in the banking, 24 degrees, and you're coming around that turn into that canyon, and you just have a hard time seeing ahead.
Tony Stewart has been checked and released at the care center. His car is being released to the garage area.
I'm sure part of Tony Stewart's frustration will be the fact of where they qualified. Back in the 29th position, they tested for 3 hours on Friday, and they never could really find speed in his 14 car.
Matt is with the driver of the third car involved.
Absolutely, and catching up with Regan Smith. What took place from your vantage point? You were right in the middle of all of us, Regan.
Yeah, I got into the back of the 14 and started the whole thing. I mean, I'll take full blame for that. Somehow they got checked up in front of me, and I just didn't have time to get woed up with it. So, I hate that there's so many wrecked race cars here. It's not fun for anybody, especially my guys on the Furniture Row, CSX Play It Safe Chevy. We'll work hard to get it back out and get as many points as we can. It's been a tough year, and certainly this doesn't help things out. But, these guys will bust their butts, and we'll get every spot that we can here.
Now, Mike, the boys from Colorado behind me, they're not working the race car because, as you mentioned, we're under red flag conditions. They're checking out the damage, and what they've got, all the teams have as part of their crash carts, different sections of the race car already put together, the front fascia, the hood, the fender, so that way they can take a Sawzall and cut as much of the damage from the firewall forward off, slide this in, weld some pieces in place, use some of the big Bear Bond duct tape pieces to get the nose section back in place to save as much time back here in the garage area so they don't lose as many laps on the racetrack.
Thanks, Matt. I don't put any of the blame for that on Regan Smith. Where he was, Darrell, what could he have done to keep from getting into Tony Stewart after Tony lost all his momentum?
Well, I think if you look at a replay, you'll see that Tony is into the 83, and 83's getting loose. But what really made the wreck worse was when the 78 car rammed into the back of the 14. Watch the 78. How he's got all that distance. He's got all this distance in here, and he should be able to see. I think he thinks that's casual contact.
I think he figures that 83 car is going to get straightened up. He sticks his nose in here, though, and then there's nowhere for anybody to go. If he hadn't got into the back of Tony, I don't think we would have had this kind of wreck.
Understand, he's still accelerating.
Yeah,
when they're all checked up ahead of him.
I think he saw the 14 get into Landon, and I think he thought, well, that's casual, and he'll catch it, we'll go on. And he was going to try to make a pass when he really should have been checking up.
Well, that one driver that snuck through there, unlike any of these others, David Strimmy in that 30, as well as David Reagan in the 34.
That was some really nifty driving by both those guys, especially Strimmy. Darrell, when you're down in turn 1 and 2, you can't see what's developing up ahead of you, and that's the situation Strimmy found himself in. When he popped up off turn 2, it looked like the whole world ended to him, I bet. But he was able to work his way through there. I love the drive those guys did.
And that's a driver that's trying hard to claw his way into the top 35 in owner points, so that could help a bunch.
It made a big difference there.
9 laps complete under the red flag as Juan Pablo Montoya had this ride back to the garage. Miles the Monster on lap 9 claimed 13 victims, the biggest wreck of the Sprint Cup season so far. We're under the red flag. Steve Burns.
With Tony Stewart, who has just exited the infield care center. And Tony, Regan Smith's already said that he got into the back of you, but what actually started it?
Just the 83 was trying to get back down to the bottom, and just we were both in the wrong place at the wrong time. So it wasn't Regan's fault. I mean, he was right behind us, and he didn't have anywhere to go either. So just a real good deal at the beginning of a race like this.
Tony, can your car be repaired?
I don't know. It's pretty damn tore up, so we'll see. I don't know. It's just a crappy weekend, and you get back there with some of them guys, and you just got to be more patient. But you know, as far back as we started, I didn't really have the luxury to be as patient as I would like to have been. But just was under a guy and came down.
Thank you, Tony.
The defending Sprint Cup champ started 29th. He's right now listed in the garage 37th of the 43 starters. Carnage everywhere. At Talladega, we had 2 9-car pileups. For those of you who've been bemoaning the lack of caution flags this year. And at Bristol early on, lap 24, we had a 7-car jam session. But this 13-car pileup is Scott Speed. Takes the ride back in on a golf cart. This is the biggest of the year so far. Not the way we wanted to start.
Oh, you think about it, it was just shy of a third of the field that was involved in that wreck.
And you know, we can all we can do from up here is analyze what happened. You know, Tony got into the 83 car, the 78 got in the back of Tony, and then the wreck was on. And you hear these guys. Tony's not mad at Landon Castle, or he's not mad at Regan Smith. We just got jammed up over there and we had a wreck.
So let's have a look at today's Ford F-150 EcoBoost track facts. For Dover, Roush Fenway has the most Dover wins at this track with 16 across NASCAR's 3 National Series. Ford has held the points lead for 11 of 12 weeks this season. And the last Ford victory here was Matt Kenseth, who won the spring race of 2011. There's Kenseth's number 17, sitting in 3rd place right now. Under the red flag, no work can be done on the cars, no service to the cars parked out on the track away from the area that the sweepers are working. At the exit of turn number 2 and in the garage, they can look at the damage, but they really can't work on it until the red flag is lifted and we go back under the yellow.
Hey, David Reagan, it's DW. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, 10-4. I got you guys.
Have you got your nerves back over there? You made a nice drive through that wreck.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it again or not, DW. The racing here, you really can't see around the corners as well as you'd like to sometimes. And I believe the 83 get sideways, and our spotter did a nice job roaming up on top of the grandstands. And he's telling you to go low, but then they're wrecking on the bottom side. So it was just a perfect case scenario. I was able to slide our 8-hour alert through and not get any damage, so we were fortunate to get through that one.
What do you do in a situation like that? I mean, I don't see any tire smoke or anything. It looks like did you keep accelerating? Do you back off? How do you get through that mess?
You know, I think you can relate to this. You know, when you start thinking about what to do, then you don't make good decisions. So you just kind of do what comes natural, and that's try to dodge the bullet. So I think, you know, you stay in the gas, you try to turn left, turn right, and just say a short prayer to get through there. So we were fortunate to get through there. If we would have been 10 car lengths in front or 10 car lengths behind, we probably would have got in the wreck. But we were able to see some clear blue skies at the end of it, and go on to live another day.
Mighty fine job there, young man. Hope you don't have any more incidents like that the rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I think we got a good car today, and can't wait to get back going here.
3-car entry here for Front Row Motorsports. Well, here's what's fresh off the wire. We are 30 minutes into this race, but we've completed only 9 laps because of this. Landon Castle sideways up top, Regan Smith on the bottom, and the funnel collects a total of 13 cars, the biggest pileup of this Sprint Cup season. And it's the first red flag we've had in the last 8 races. 13 cars in all have damage. Right now, 7 of them have been hauled to the garage area. The rest are still on track or on pit road. And that's what's fresh off the wire, served to you by KFC. Come in and taste why fresh is better.
I mean, Mike, when you look at that back straightaway, I mean, you just look down that straightaway and the thing's all tilted up 9 degrees, and it's self-cleaning. We say it all the time. Jeff, what do you say?
BW, I heard Mike talking about, you know, the guys can't work on the cars during the red flag condition. But if you notice here with the 14 team of Tony Stewart, they're making a plan. They're getting ready to repair this race car. You see Tony even standing there. He's going to put his helmet back inside the car. I believe they're going to be able to make pretty quick repairs on this 14 car. But they got A-frames laid out. They've got porta powers. They've got welders. All the guys are talking about what they can do. Now they can go to work since they've cranked the cars out on the racetrack. But they've got a plan, just like a pit crew. They'll get repairs done on this car really quick. I think you'll see the 14 back out on the racetrack in just a short amount of time.
Yeah, really, Larry, the red flag is a blessing for the teams whose cars are already in the garage.
No question, because as Jeff pointed out, as we've cranked the cars up and we'll go back under caution, they can make a plan. You can see the minute that red flag was pulled in, the yellow displayed, these teams go to work.
And they practice this stuff. The championship winning teams like Tony Stewart's team, they practice crash repair, and they got it down to a science.
Boy, second race in a row, Travis Quapples had the right side torn up. And Tony Stewart preparing to go to work there in the garage. Pit road will open this time. 18 minutes of red flag time. 9 laps complete. We'll come around to complete 10 under caution. And I'm sure the damaged cars will come to pit road when it opens. It is open now, but most of the field, at least the front of the field, is staying out.
Yeah, not surprised that our leaders up front that stayed out, but we may have some drivers that were not involved in the crash, like for instance maybe Kurt Busch in the 51 who was going backwards, maybe coming to pit road to get some adjustments on their race car.
Everybody from Brad Keselowski in 17th place on back, with the exception of Stremme and Yaley, are on pit road.
Mike, and I think again it just as an emphasis on qualifying. Wow, it's so important to qualify good.
Krista?
Mike, Brad Keselowski lacking rear grip on exit. They're taking advantage of this opportunity to make adjustments, air pressure, and fix the balance of this number 2. Dick Berggren?
And Martin Truex also on pit road. Car has not been handling as well as he might like. Qualified poorly, started deep in the field with that car.
Paul Menard, Kurt Busch, Marcus Ambrose, A.J. Allmendinger, and David Reagan.
I like pitting right now, Larry, because I don't have a lot of cars on pit road, and this is one of the most treacherous pit roads we have.
Well, especially if you were not going to give up a lot of track position like most of these drivers were not going to do. And some of them, like Kurt Busch, the 51, was falling back about as fast as he could go.
Matt?
Mike, our leader, Mark Martin, said the balance of his race car is extremely well, especially in clean air. And you documented about the lane choice, outside or inside. Mark is saying that he is going to take the outside on the restart. Steve?
Matt Kenseth just told his crew that his car is tight. He also said he's a little concerned about the splitter bottoming out, hitting the racetrack.
That's a lesson learned for the 55 car.
Yes, it was. Happened to you once, not your fault. Happened to you twice, nobody's fault but your own.
But then I always think about old school. And what did we used to do when we didn't have double foul restarts? The leader was always on the outside line. So, you know, Mark kind of got habits I think he adheres to.
Tony Stewart looking on from the garage as this race continues without the defending Sprint Cup champion. One of 13 cars piled up in turn 2 at lap number 9. Now, since everybody's on the lead lap, we don't need to cycle around again for a second run at pit road for lap down cars, and we're going to restart this time.
One of the things that always amuses me, we used to say, why do you want the leader to have to start on the outside? And ever since we've gone to double foul restarts, where does the leader always restart?
Outside.
On the outside.
So it's Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson. They have each led laps. 6 for Johnson, 5 for Martin. No one else has yet led today. Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman in row 2. Clint Bowyer, Kyle Busch in row 3. Biffle and Harvick, Hamlin and Logano. The only top 10 starter not in the top 10, Kurt Busch, who pitted. He started 9th but dropped back.
Almost feel like we'll have to start all over.
Pretty much. Green flag comes out at lap 12. Johnson Martin pretty even this time into the corner. A little scattering behind them, and Mark Martin's going to edge away off turn number 2 by half a car length. Johnson breaks early going into turn number 3. So it's Martin by a car length, and as they come off turn 4, the Toyota has the lead. Johnson second, Ryan Newman.
That is so hard to do here. Come off the corner underneath somebody and not make contact.
Bowyer on the bottom against Kyle Busch. That's 5th and 6th. Kenseth settles in behind Newman 4th. And Kyle on the outside may fall to Bowyer here, maybe not. Kyle gets a good run up turn 4.
Get that momentum up high like that and you can get a nice run down the straightaway. What little straightaway there is here.
You know, just watching Matt Kenseth in that 17 car battling Ryan Newman right now in the 39 for 3rd. Matt Kenseth is so good through the middle of the corner. Right there.
Oh, he gets a good drive off and takes 3rd away from Ryan Newman. Meanwhile, at the other end, Jeff Gordon got under Joey Logano, moved up into the top 10.
And you talk about Matt, he's the only guy that's won a race here that lately that didn't name Busch or Johnson.
Bowyer Busch again, they continue their battle side by side. Now it is for 5th place. Kevin Harvick looking on. 29.
And I think across the board, Mike, Larry, these guys will take. Some guys love the feel of the concrete racetrack. Other guys hate it. They just can't get a feel for it. Maybe Tony Stewart's one of those that hates it.
Definitely over the last few years, it's not been kind to Tony Stewart.
Boy, almost contact there between Busch and Bowyer as they cleared turn 2 and got up into the back straightaway, Matt.
And Kyle Busch told his team under the red flag he simply cannot run the bottom of the racetrack at this juncture. You've seen him move up, and he says that when he really charges the corner hard, the car goes to the tight side.
Look behind them, Harvick right there. Kevin Harvick trying Kyle Busch, and he's got a mirror full of Jeff Gordon, who is up to 8th.
And Mike, what you have to be so careful of is when you get the nose stuck up right up against the guy in front of you, it loosens him up. And if he has to pedal the gas at all, you get into him. That's something you really have to deal with.
Could have been contact between Almirola and Keselowski last time by. Eric has the spot, 14th. Brad wants it.
Now, Brad Keselowski in that 2 car, one of the drivers that came to pit road and got 4 fresh tires, he has now cracked the top 15 up to 15th.
Back up front, Mark Martin trying to drive away from Jimmy Johnson. That margin there, it's about 6 car lengths. Call it half a second. It's another full second back to Matt Kenseth.
Well, the first 3 cars are running 24.05, 24.06, and 24.04. So they're just laying right, I mean, this lap after lap right on top of each other.
Keselowski inching closer to the 43, who wags the tail coming off the corner.
And man, you don't want anybody right up against you when you're coming off the corner like that, I can tell you.
They're about to be joined by Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 car. He's up to 16th with 4 fresh tires.
Mark Martin out in front at the Monster Mile.
The FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by KFC. Come in today and taste why fresh is better. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
29 laps complete at Dover, minus the Sprint Cup champ Tony Stewart. Mark Martin and Jimmie Johnson for the lead. Johnson went by on the outside. He had a big run down into turn number 3 and retakes the lead.
What he did was he changed his line. Jimmie Johnson, he was going in and diving in the corner. Go in low, up high, and then dive down. He really made up a lot of time.
Jeff Gordon up for 7th there. Here's a look at it. The pass for the lead.
He goes down. He gets in there a little on the high side. Then he kind of runs down the hill, and look at the momentum he gets right there down the hill.
Yeah, it looks like he's got 100 more horsepower than Mark Martin. It's just the way he got off turn 2.
And he was really distinctively doing it at that in 3 and 4.
Toyota top performers of the race. Mark Martin now 2nd. Clint Bowyer in the top 5. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, half the top 10 right now.
And those 3 guys at the front of the field, they've all won races here. And I just tell you, concrete is a different feel. It takes a little different setup. And I think once you get a handle on it, you can consistently back it up, because concrete really doesn't change that much from the weather or anything else.
Well, Jimmie Johnson is out in front, but here's the driver who is coming to the front, Jeff Gordon. Krista?
That's right, Mike. Jeff Gordon started 14th. He is up to 7th and passing cars left and right. He said he's still a bit tight, especially no grip on the exit. But, man, they need some good luck, and this is a great place for him. 4 wins, leading more laps here than any other active driver. Steve?
Well, Krista, Jeff Gordon just passed Kevin Harvick. Harvick is saying the car is loose when I get on the throttle, and it's also getting loose when I come off the corners.
Yeah, you can see it, Steve. You can see the back of that 29 car moving around the lot on corner exit.
Denny Hamlin currently in 9th place. Hasn't been the best track for Hamlin. 2 fourths here are his best results. Meanwhile, for 5th rather, Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch.
I think Kyle looked back, he saw the 24 car coming, Larry, and he said, well, I guess I better get going here.
But what's amazing, we got the report not that long ago that Kyle Busch in the 18, that he could not run the bottom, but that's how he made the pass on Ryan Newman in the 39. But we're about halfway through this fuel run now. You know, the driver I've been watching is Jeff Gordon in his 24 car. He started back in the 14th position. He's up to 7th. When the checkered flag waves today, we are halfway through the race to the chase, sitting 22nd in points. Jeff Gordon knows he has to win races during these summer months if he wants to make the chase.
Just don't panic. He's a smart guy. Just don't panic.
They're closing in on Ryan Newman. Here's Gordon to the inside to make the pass for 6th place. And Newman drops to 7th.
Yeah, but Newman has a much better car right now than he had in either race last year. Both races last year, Newman and his teammate Tony Stewart finished laps down and in the 20s. Well, Newman came up with something with his crew at Las Vegas. That's a race that his teammate Stewart won, and that's pretty much what they have got under the cars here today. They said they had to try something different. They've got something different, and it's working pretty well, although they need to tune on it.
Well, Dick, they need to try something different with Ryan Newman, because when you go back to his win at Martinsville, his best finish the next 6 races, 14th at Charlotte last week.
Jimmie Johnson has now led in 21 starts, over 2,000 laps at Dover International Speedway. It's Johnson in front of Mark Martin by 1 second. Matt Kenseth 3rd.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
The FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds.
Jimmy Johnson continues to lead Mark Martin by 1 second. Matt Kenseth now 3 back. Clint Bowyer 4 back, and Kyle Busch 8 seconds off the lead. Jeff Gordon is a contender. He is 8 seconds off the lead, but he's coming in 6th place. And the big question mark in the early going is Greg Biffle, who started his Ford from 7th position, but he's fallen back to 14th, and his lap times are half a second slower than the race leader. What's up, Matt?
Mike, he is absolutely slipping and sliding around this 1 mile concrete. In fact, he was telling his team that he just has to try to feather it to make it through the corners. He's not on the splitter, but his team is telling him, especially his spotter, saying where the other cars are making up time, trying to run him out of the black. And you see him go on the high side, trying to go where the track is less black, because the rubber, as Mark Martin called it this morning, he told me it's a lot like Play-Doh. It just rolls up very slip and sliding around the marbles here.
And I feel like if Greg Biffle had known his car was going to go this bad, that he would have been one of the drivers that would have made that pit stop on lap 10, but I don't think it had showed up at that point.
I'll tell you an interesting thing. We got a caution here. We watch it. When these cars slow down, they got hot tires, they pick that rubber up off the racetrack. It's a layer. It just layers itself on top of that concrete.
Jeff Burton in the number 31 Richard Childress Chevrolet just wore out A.J. Allmendinger, sat underneath him lap after lap until he wore him out, and Allmendinger slipped up the high side. Burton took the spot, so here comes A.J. back trying to return the favor, but Burton may be able to get away from him.
And Jeff Burton did not stop on lap 10. A.J. Allmendinger in the 22, as well as McMurray in the orange 1 back there, they did make pit stops at lap 10.
Well, they're not in any immediate danger of going a lap down, Larry, but the leader's coming off turn 2 over here, and they're going into turn 3, so they're not far behind the leader or ahead of the leader.
Jeff Gordon is on a mission. He has tracked down Kyle Busch for 5th place, 8 seconds behind the race leader, but running lap times equal to the top 5 cars right now.
And this is something we've seen. It's become a pattern, and we should be aware of it by now. They don't qualify that well necessarily, but they run something that's uncharacteristic for Jeff Gordon now. He runs a lot of practice laps. I used to wonder how he could get his car right. He'd go out and run 2 or 3 laps and come back in and wouldn't do anything. He'd come 2 or 3 laps. Now he runs a lot of practice laps, and they get the car right in the race.
Yeah, we watched him do that at Charlotte. Didn't qualify that great, but got that top 10 finish, finished 7th.
Kasey Kahne and Greg Biffle, 14th place here. Kahne trying to pull away. Fresh off his victory in the Coke 600 at Charlotte. And for 11th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. over Joey Logano. Visit DewCrew.com and check out the special Dew Crew Rises paint scheme that Dale will run in Michigan. Enter now for a chance to win a trip to The Dark Knight Rises movie premiere in New York City, and join the Dew Crew.
The old Dew Crew.
Now, Junior's running 11th. Yesterday, in his post-qualifying interview live on Speed, he sounded as excited to be here as I've heard him in a year or so. He's really looking forward to this race and the complexity it offers with the track constantly changing.
Well, I know his teammate, Big Daddy, is now excited to be in the top 5. Jeff Gordon just passed Kyle Busch and moved up to the 5th spot.
8th place Ryan Newman trying to hold back Denny Hamlin's Toyota.
It's like Hamlin's getting a little bit better into the near the end of this run, Larry. Looks like he got a pretty good long run car, Hamlin does. Whoa, man, while Hamlin was racing with the Newman there, Carl Edwards about passed them both in 3 and 4 there. He made a heck of a run on these 2 guys.
Yeah, Carl Edwards in the 99 started back in the 19th position. Carl was nice enough to join us at our Fox dinner last night. Said his car just got way too loose qualifying, but felt like he had a good car for the race.
Showing it right now
Yeah, he can run the bottom. He really can hang that left side tires down on the bottom there on the apron almost and make some good time.
So Edwards moves up to 9th. 2 Fords in the top 10. Kenseth in 3rd. And the pit window will open soon, so we'll take a quick break. 59 laps complete at Dover. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. 67 laps complete. Tony Stewart, one of 13 cars piled up at lap number 9. Repairs in the garage continue for Smoke. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Series. Brought to you by Sprint and the new HTC Evo 4G LTE. Jimmy Johnson running in second. Mark Martin has the fastest lap of the race. And David Rudiman has gained the most positions in this race so far. He's running 20th, started 39th. For more, go to sprint.com/speed. All right, the pit window is open. Matt.
Our championship point leader Greg Biffle on pit road. Now Biffle said his biggest issue, he needed to have the car cut better to the center of the corner. It was too free and he needed help on exit. No grip. 2 changes for Biffle. Steve.
Kevin Harvick saying the car is very loose and it's loose all the way around the track. Matt.
And Denny Hamlin's on pit road. Right side tires already going on. Hamlin's biggest issue, Steve, during the first segment of the race, the car absolutely too tight. Krista.
Right now, Carl Edwards is good on the exit, but he's tight in the center. They will make an air pressure adjustment to help him. Dick.
Well, Ryan Newman said his car is pushing off the bottom. They're going to need to make some adjustments to that number 39 car to get him as fast as he wants to be.
Whoa, and he almost runs over Clint Bowyer's crew. He was blocked getting out by Bowyer coming in, and that was almost calamity.
It's one of the tightest pit roads we go to. Tight boxes and not much room to pass each other on pit road.
Leaders are in. Mark Martin has the favored pit stall at the far end of pit road because he won the pole. He got to pick his pit first. Jimmy Johnson in with him. Johnson peels off, goes to his stop, and Matt Kenseth picks up the lead. Dick.
Johnson has a very good pit stall. There's no one in front of him here. There is a bar in the back of the car to make an adjustment. Matt.
Our pole sitter already in, Dick. They've already made a track bar adjustment to try to tighten him up. Shannon Myers, the former Miami Dolphin, hits those lugs and he's away, Steve.
Matt Kenseth on his way down pit road, Matt. He said that his car was too rigid on the right rear. He's feeling the right rear. All the bumps and cracks in this track, way too much.
Now this is interesting because of the lead cars, Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon waited longest to come in during that round of green flag stops.
These two guys here, though, they came in together. They went out together. I'm talking about the 55 of Martin and the 48 of Johnson. Jeff Gordon, he's closed the gap a little bit, and he's got a bad fast car.
You're looking at the leader, David Reagan, who has picked up the lead, and Tony Stewart's car looking like it's never been in a crash. Heads back to the track.
Back to David Reagan in that 34 that's leading. One of the drivers that pitted at lap 10. He can go another 8 to 10 laps on fuel, but you're going to see him come to pit road because he can't afford to keep giving up that much time to fresh tires.
Let's go back to Ryan Newman's pit stop and him trying to get out. There's an opening just past Newman to go to the infield right there, but here's Bowyer coming in, and Bowyer's crew is already there, and there is contact with the Jackman.
And Newman couldn't do anything because the car is there. He can't go out into the pit lane, and the crew is there, and he just about run over. They did run over.
Cost them both precious seconds.
Yep.
Oh boy, Jeff Gordon got into Bobby Labonte right there, trying to make the pass on the 47. And Kurt Busch too fast entering pit road. That will be a penalty. He was too fast in the section just before his pit stall.
These guys have a tendency to really gas it up right before they get into their box.
Well, on that pit exchange, advantage Jimmy Johnson. Mark Martin before pit stops had an 0.8 of a second lead over Jimmy. Right now it's just half a second.
Let's take a look at the 2 laps that includes the green flag pit stop. Here you'll see right here Kyle Busch at 18. We saw this at Charlotte several times in green flag pit stops. The fastest of these drivers right here.
Jeff Gordon not far behind in that 24.
There's Kyle Busch, who's running third behind Martin and Johnson. Pass-through penalty for Kurt Busch.
I think it's just a coincidence the top 5 are the guys that have won all the races here recently.
I don't think that's any coincidence, but here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88, battling Denny Hamlin in the 11. This is for 9th spot.
Krista?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not make any adjustments on that stop other than removing tape from the grill. He said he's running just a little bit tight and a little bit hot, but rather than that, the car is good.
Junior makes the pass and moves up to 9th. Riding on the front bumper of Denny Hamlin's car. 78 laps into the FedEx 400, benefiting Autism Speaks on Fox.
The FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Farmers. We are insurance. We are farmers.
Uh-oh. Big pile up back straight away.
Oh my gosh.
Back it down. Oh, go low. Right in front of you. Get your hand up. Oh, watch this go. Oh, good job.
There's so much carnage, I can't tell who all is in it.
Biggest wreck of the year at the Monster Mile. Time for an AT&T race break brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network. Rethink possible. 87 laps into the race, and Jimmy Johnson overtaking the pole sitter Mark Martin moments ago to capture the lead. Martin led 40 laps so far in this race. Jimmy has led the most laps in the last 6 Dover races, and once again Team Hendrick looking strong.
Yeah, Mark Martin got tied up there a little bit with Tony Stewart. Tony's brought his car back from the garage. He's on the track. They'll use this as a test session, and they need some testing right now, Chris.
Tony Stewart taking a serious hit in the points, coming in within the top 10. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon came in 22nd in points, worst position in his career after 12 races. He was 7th last week, his first top 20 finish in the last 5 races. And he's led the 3rd most laps this year, moving up to 4th and in good position.
A lot of the folks down in the garage area said this could be the car to beat. They talked about Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon in the same breath. They thought Jeff had righted the ship and he could take that baby to victory lane today.
You said on the pre-race show, Michael, that Carl Edwards, who was the points leader at this point last year, in trouble, just barely in the top 10. And in the last 6 Roush Fenway wins, they have not included him, but he does have 3 wins on the concrete.
Yeah, and he's driven into the top 10, Chris. He started out near 20th, and he's driven up to the top 10. He's got a good car, so we said he needed to turn things around. It looks like maybe Dover's going to be a strong day for him.
And coming back to Tony Stewart, who has finished 24th or worse in 3 of his last 6 races. He told us before the race it's easier to fix problems when you know what they are. His problem now is just kind of hanging in there and staying in, although he has those 2 wins in the bank.
Yeah, a tough qualifying day led to a crash early. The monster bit these boys early in the day, but they fixed that car pretty quickly. He's running 30th, and you can see, Chris, it's in pretty good shape, so maybe that team can learn some things today.
AT&T, our fastest driver challenge. You can text FAST to 34763 or AT&TfastestDriver.com for a chance to win 4G's Rethink Possible. We're all brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network. We've had 8 different lead changes, Mike, and 4 leaders in the big caution involving 13 cars in that wreck.
Yeah, that was back on lap 9. Thanks, Chris.
Pretty good battle right here. These guys, Jeff Burton, Ryan Newman, and Greg Biffle just cleared these guys. They got pretty tense between these 3 there for a few laps.
Darrell, I think one reason it's getting that the tension is mounting is because our leader, Jimmy Johnson, in the 48 is only about a straightaway behind those drivers.
Now, there was quite a battle going on for 3rd place. Matt Kenseth and Kyle Busch all but got together here, and that brought Jeff Gordon right to them down the front straightaway.
It's just amazing how close you get to hitting that wall almost every lap off that corner.
No margin for error, Matt.
Mike, in the previous segment, when Kyle Busch was making up so much time before the pit stop, he was absolutely running the bottom. The past few laps, he hasn't been able to do that. In fact, he was telling Dave Rogers that the back of the race car is just absolutely so sensitive to wheel input on entry. If he steers it too much, he just wants to snap around loose. Making more notes for their next pit stop, just trying to break this race down into segments to be there at the end for his third win here at Dover.
Thanks, Matt. Jimmie Johnson putting a lap on Paul Menard. Menard is the 22nd place car. There are 14 in the garage, with David Stremme, J.J. Yaley, and Mike Bliss and Scott Riggs joining those that were banged up on lap 9.
Mike, if you have a car that's just doing one thing, okay, the drivers complain about one thing, the back end's coming out, that gives the crew a good chance to fix that. It's when you complain about everything that a crew chief has no idea where to go or what to do.
Jimmie Johnson battling Marcus Ambrose, trying to lap him. That brings Menard right back to Johnson. Tough traffic here on the concrete of Dover.
All your questions will be answered right here on Fox.
Earlier this morning over at the Lowe's Build and Grow Clinic, some lucky kids armed with hammers had the opportunity to help our race leader assemble one of the Build and Grow kits at the Lowe's display. These clinics are free and happen all summer long. Lowe's.com has the details. We talked last week at Charlotte about spotters having trouble finding the cars. Well, Jimmy can certainly find his spotter today, Earl Barbin, up there on the roof next to the NASCAR official, sporting a unique hairdo. Duplicated by Jimmy during the entire pre-race ceremony. Jimmy, Kangol caps, Dick Berggren caps, not fright wigs. He didn't get the memo.
That proves my point, though. You know, there's limits to what you'll do for a friend, but there's no limit to what you'll do for a sponsor.
Jimmy is leading this race by 2.3 seconds over Mark Martin.
Let's get in there and ride around. Ooh, that's a little quick snap right there of the wheel. But that's kind of how this joint is. You got it, you don't have it. You got it, you don't have it. That's that feel that concrete gives you. See Jimmy there, he's good down in the corner. The car gets in good, pretty neutral through the middle. Coming up out of the hole, how's he looking, Dick? What do you got going on down there?
Well, Jimmie Johnson, you might think, given his past success here at Dover, would have come to the racetrack with pretty much the same setup as before. But that is not the strategy of crew chief Chad Knaus. Told me this morning, every time they come to this racetrack, they try something a little bit different, seeking additional speed. Johnson's only pre-race complaint about the car, a little bit uncomfortable, meaning too close to the edge. Right now, it looks awfully good out there.
That it does, and Dick really did talk to Chad Knaus. We have evidence as Chad has the logo saluting Dick Berggren that's on the hood of David Rudiman's car, thanks to Tommy Baldwin Racing, and on the B post of many cars in this race, and you saw it a minute ago on the driver's seat of Jimmie Johnson.
I go back to what you said before the race, Darrell. Even the guy leading the race, David Rudiman in the 10, looks like the engine has let go.
Hey, Doc, you're smoking.
And they bring the caution out for the second time today.
Off of 2.
They intended to run the entire race because it's David Rudiman's job to keep that number 10 in the top 35 in owner points. They had hoped for a long day today, and so did we. Second caution of the day at lap 111 for engine trouble on David Rudiman.
But Darrell, your point earlier, even the driver leading the race is never really happy with his race car here. Chad Knaus's job, but you're better than the rest of them.
That's all that matters.
Grading on the curve. A.J. Allmendinger is the first car one lap down, so he's our Aaron's lucky dog. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's.
And you know what, Mike? I was looking at Tony Stewart. He's back out. He's in 29th place. He drove he drove 600 miles at Charlotte last week and didn't finish any better than that.
Steve.
Matt Kenseth saying that he needs grip. He's still rigid on the right rear, and he said he's tight all across the center. Air out of both front tires, Krista.
Steve, Jeff Gordon saying at the start of the run he has a terrible push in. He's plowing. He has to put a lot of wheel into it, but he can't do too much because he doesn't have any security in the back end of his car. Dick?
Jimmie Johnson said the car is absolutely perfect entering the corner, just a little bit tight out, so don't expect any major adjustments here, Matt.
Dick, both cars on the body of their screen. Busch and Martin fighting the exact same issue. Absolutely no rear stability or grip. In fact, Mark Martin said, make a big swing at it because I need to be able to get this car on entry and off the corner.
Our FedEx race off pit road. Jimmie Johnson, Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth. Killer Bees picked up 3 positions for Matt Kenseth, up for 3rd. 112 laps complete in Dover.
The FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers.
Go to ChevyOutdoors.com. Enter for a chance to win a Chevy Silverado, plus a day of bass fishing with Tony Stewart at his home. Tomorrow night might not be the best day to do that. Tony was involved in that lap 9 crash that took 13 cars behind the wall for some repair work, and about half of those are still in the garage.
He'll take it out in the dirt this week.
Here's what Jeff Gordon had to say after entering pit road with Matt Kenseth in very close proximity once the pits open under caution.
Ask NASCAR if it's okay that 17 just drives to our door when we hit pit road. I mean, my God, he all the way inside my left rear. Yeah, 10-4. He does it every week.
Hey guys, a little heads up here. Kenseth's trying to get to his pit box. He does it every week because he has this same pit box just about every week. He's not doing it. Look, his pit box is coming. It's right here. So he's not doing anything wrong. He's just trying to get in his pit box.
I love our 4-tire champion to death, Jeff Gordon, but if he was in that pit box, he'd be doing the very same thing.
That's what you have to do.
Tough break for Ryan Newman. Came in for a splash and go in tires, and one of those tires got away and rolled across pit road. So when the field takes the green, Newman, I believe he'll be coming in to serve a penalty. David Rudiman's car being pushed back to the garage. Engine trouble for David.
Yeah, tail end of the longest line since it happened under caution.
You're right, Larry. Thank you. So that's the penalty. Under caution, you go to the tail end of the longest line, and here we go. Getting ready to restart. Completing lap 116. Jimmie Johnson, Kyle Busch right on his bumper. Mark Martin on the inside did not get as good a restart.
You nailed it. He was on his bumper. He was giving him a shove, baby.
Harvick with a head of steam. Gonna pull up to the outside and then look inside of Martin. Kyle Busch trying to come down, close the door. Not quite enough room to do that. Jimmie Johnson calls him off turn 4 with Kyle Busch, Mark Martin, Harvick, Kenseth, Edwards, and Gordon.
Harv seems to be pretty good on new tires. I don't think he can stay up there like that, but he's been pretty good on new tires. Larry, it just seems to me every time that 48 comes into pits, they make it a little bit better.
Yes,
every
they do.
pit stop. And you know how I know, Larry? Because his lap times every time after a restart or after they come out of the pits are always a little bit quicker than the time before. That's a 24:10. That's a fast lap.
Saturday night's baseball on Fox, and what a great game last night with the Tigers pulling it out in the bottom of the 9th against the Yankees, who had tied it in the top of the inning. It was a big cliffhanger. Tim and Joe had a great show. Great game on Fox. Saturday night baseball.
Do they make a lot of noise playing baseball?
Compared to this, no.
Not as much as we're getting ready to.
Time to crank it up. Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, 6th place right here.
That 24 car, Larry, is bad to the bone. Did you see him cut off turn 4 underneath Carl Edwards and make that pass? That means that car is sticking to the racetrack.
Just appears that Jeff Gordon's good on the short run and the long run right now.
Pretty good piece under him right now. But Larry, you know why Jimmy Johnson's out there just running off and leaving everybody the way he is? That's what he gets paid to do.
This is true.
He gets paid to go out there and lap this field if he can.
Teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. we're riding with back in the 8th position right now.
You heard the engine as he came off the corner at turn 2, and the car gets light as it transitioned from 24 degrees banking down to 9 degrees. The RPM jumps up, just all in a day's work.
That's 850 horses trying to get loose.
2 of our Dodge Chargers, the Penske cars, battling there with Jeff Burton. There's where the Dodge Chargers of the race. Now 17 and 18.
Burton said, where are these guys all coming from, man? They're coming left, right?
A.J. Allmendinger in that 22, he just got the free pass on that lost caution back on the lead lap.
This guy right here, that 24 car, like he's on the move.
Motivation.
He's moving.
Jeff Gordon came in here 22nd in points to make the chase for the Sprint Cup. After Richmond in September, you need to be in the top 10 in points, or you need to be the driver with the most wins in point positions 11 through 20. Right now, Gordon is not in the top 20, and he has not won.
If I'm in a hole and I want a guy in my car that can dig me out of that hole, you're looking at it. This guy right here with his experience, his knowledge, his patience, don't count that man out.
Clint Bowyer inside Joey Logano, 10th place here, 6 seconds behind the lead, and Bowyer moves through. Boy, Harvick almost banged Mark Martin out of the way coming off 2. Yeah, Mark now falls to Jeff Gordon because coming off 2, something happened to Mark Martin's forward momentum.
This last time in, I don't know what adjustments they made to the 55, but they went the wrong way, I guarantee you, because he's been getting past, or he's not running the same as he was at the start of this race.
Same lane. Gordon had to pedal it, and Harvick almost got into him.
Yeah, if you have to roll out of the throttle any at all, it's just going to kill that momentum down that back straightaway.
All right, Matt's in our pole sitters pick.
Mike still fighting the same issue for Mark Martin. 3 out entry, 3 out exit. Just cannot get back in the gas. No grip.
And you can see the car. It's almost like he's using a lot of brake when he gets off in the corner. You can see the car really slow when he gets the corner entry because the car is loose.
And even though he sat on the pole yesterday, he actually had that complaint about that race car when he qualified.
Right. So he falls to 5th with Kenseth and Edwards coming.
And look, always looking back, getting a little look behind here. Got a lot of wheel. You see him get that right arm up on top of that wheel. That's just for support, but watch his eyes. There's a little glance back, checks his line, see there nobody's up on the outside. Car doesn't look loose just watching him, but Mark Martin drives that way. It can be loose as heck and you never know it. And look how he's tucked in that thing. I mean, he's so safe in there. It's a little cocoon he sits in. And it's just his head, you don't have to worry about your neck going out because you're laying up against that headrest all the time.
Mark Martin trying to become the first pole sitter to win in the Sprint Cup Series. In the last 30 races, we have tied the longest streak since a pole winner's gone to victory lane, set more than 20 years ago.
Jimmy Johnson's won here from the pole.
6th place, Kenseth and Edwards. Only 2 Fords in the top 10, along with 3 Toyotas, 5 Chevrolets. Jeff Gordon goes for 3rd and takes it away from Kevin Harvick.
Jeff's car just looks so good. He gets in the corner nice, but man, he gets back in the gas so quickly, making great time around this racetrack.
Jimmy Johnson, your leader at Dover. KFC's fully maxed meal offers your chance to win one of 17,000 fully maxed prizes, a home theater system, the ultimate Jeff Gordon race day experience, even a new Camaro. Today tastes so good. Details at KFC.com.
You know, Larry, another guy that looks like they made some nice adjustments on their cars, Kevin Harvick. He's there in 4th place. Actually getting pretty close to catching up with our 3rd place runner there, Kyle Busch. What are they saying in the pit down there, Bernsey?
Hey, DW, just heard Harv. He said, the crew chief Shane Wilson, he said, I don't need a whole lot on our next stop. He said, I'm just a little bit tight in places and a little bit loose. They're going to make a small air pressure adjustment, DW.
Nice. Nice.
But you know, Darrell, what I'm seeing here, it's almost like this track is going through a change. We're starting to see some drivers move forward and some move backwards, like Mark Martin, our pole sitter, and you just saw Matt Kenseth in the 17 as well.
Yeah, Kenseth backing up. Jeff Gordon has passed Kyle Busch for 2nd. So Kyle now in 3rd, and you see that interval growing, Matt.
You hit out perfectly, Mike. We're seeing this racetrack change, and Kyle Busch is one of those drivers experiencing it. His car was tight during the first portion of this run, but it's progressively gotten freer and freer, and that's why you're seeing him adjust his line, moving up a little bit more off the bottom into the middle of the racetrack.
That layer of rubber that they lay down, I mean, it truly is a layer of rubber. It lays on top of this. It's concrete. It can't go down into pores like it does on asphalt, so it lays on top of this concrete surface, and it creates a really slick surface, Dick.
Yeah, and Clint Bowyer has just been told exactly what you said. Bowyer had been complaining that the back of the car has no grip, and the crew just explained what you just explained. To tell Bowyer, hang on, we'll get the back end hooked up later.
And air pressure, Larry knows this, air pressure here is huge. The tires go through these bumps and these cracks and expansion. That's a great battle right here between Eric Almirola and the 20 car there made the pass.
Yeah, that moves Almirola back up to 11, Matt.
Mike, the King's car with Almirola behind the wheel is on the move. He doesn't have an issue like everyone else when the car is free. His issue is trying to stop the car. He says his brake pedal is absolutely killing him. He's having to lift out of the throttle early because he has too much play in his brake pedal. Losing the brakes on the 43. He said if we had brakes, boy, we would be something.
His lap times are really not that bad. For the 2nd week in a row, he's making his first career start in the Sprint Cup Series in the track.
Just remember last week they had a hub problem, and it turned, you know, they started complaining first about the brakes, and it was actually a hub problem.
I think this battle's gotten personal. A.J. Allmendinger and Jeff Burton haven't left each other any room on the racetrack. Look at this a couple of laps ago. Allmendinger comes down in the middle of the straightaway.
That's a message.
Yep.
You're messing with the wrong guy.
And they continue to go at it. It's AJ in free race. No give up. That's one of those. I don't give a crap. I don't take any crap. I'm not in the crap business.
I give no quarter and I take no.
That's it. Matt?
Mike, it's been a struggle for A.J. Allmendinger. One of his better racetracks. He's got a pair of 7s here at Dover, but they have struggled from the time they unloaded. He basically had issues at every segment of the racetrack, so finally, before today's race, they went back to the 22 setup from last fall when Kurt Busch won here, just trying to throw a Hail Mary with the yard sale as far as the setup goes. The car has been tight much of the day, not much headway until the last stop. They are now starting to free this race car up.
And that's a great point. That just goes to show you how much these tracks and how much things change from one race to another. This has been a great track for AJ, and as Matt pointed out, that team won the race back in the fall.
5th place, Carl Edwards slices past Mark Martin. Krista?
Carl Edwards said, if I can get it turned, it exits well, but the center is where I need help. Right now, he's also talking about needing overall grip, but they have just made slight air pressure adjustments throughout this race to try to give him that help in the center.
Back to the retaliation. When I see drivers retaliate against each other, I always say to myself, who's this hurt? Saw it with Kevin Harvick and his teammate, the 27 car last week in the Charlotte, Menard. Who did it hurt? It ended up hurting Harvick. Got to be careful when you retaliate.
Denny Hamlin 17th, another of those drivers needing a bit of improvement on this next stop. 8th place, Kasey Kahne. Coming up against Matt Kenseth. Kahne moving forward, and Kenseth slip sliding a bit, Steve.
And
outside. Makes the pass, and on the left of your screen, third place heats up. Kyle Busch in the 18, Kevin Harvick 29.
We're about 20 laps, 15 to 20 laps away from what will be green flag pit stops. I think another thing that's happened, we've got a substantial cloud covering that's come over this racetrack just in the last 10 or 15 minutes. That will change the way these cars are gripping this racetrack.
But, Larry, not as dramatically as if it was asphalt, because this concrete is not quite so sensitive. It will change it slightly. But when you're on the edge, slightly is a lot.
Harvick keeps nibbling away at the bottom, trying to get past Kyle Busch, who has that good run off the corner on the top of the racetrack. Kyle chases it up the hill, and Harvick is there.
Been pretty impressed with the changes they made on Harvick's car in those first couple of pit stops. They have got that car hooked up pretty good. The lap times are decent. He's the third quickest car on the track right now. Just went around Kyle Busch.
Third place.
He's going somewhere.
Bad news for race leader Jimmie Johnson. Jeff Gordon not long ago ran his fastest lap of the race and is coming. Caution out for Carl Edwards, who slammed the wall in turn 2. Pit road's open. Steve.
Kevin Harvick likes his car, Mike. He says the car is getting a little bit tight. No changes at 29 car. Krista.
Jeff Gordon thought his car would get too tight. He said, no, it loosens up. I need to be a bit tighter. Dick?
Johnson pits out of the lead with a car that is just a tick too tight. Minor adjustments. That.
After the run, Kyle Busch said his car was tight but good. Then it started to go to the free side. He moved to the top to try to help, but it was just too far around. Lost too much time. Another wedge adjustment to try to tighten him up.
We're under caution at lap 163 because Carl Edwards said something broke, and the car rocketed from the bottom lane straight up into the wall.
All the air came out of the right front tire. That's what broke. Up the hill he went. In the worst possible place, right in the middle of the corner, back in the gas, running hard up off the turn, and then all of a sudden, balloony.
Carl came in here 10th in the points, so he's going to take a big hit with that crash.
He's a guy that already got this at the ratio. He's sitting on. He had a lot of people nipping at his heels, and this team had, they've won one race last year, and that's what cost them a championship. They're not guys that go out and win a lot of races, or at least they haven't up to now. They're going to have to pick up the pace.
He got a few pieces of Miles the Monster. Concrete there stuck between the wheel and tire. Carl last night said he'd be competitive today. He was in 5th place when that tire let go. Crew Chief Bob Osborne said we're taking it to the garage for repairs.
You know what? If you took that to 99 off of that car and put 11 on the side of it, it would look exactly like Denny Hamlin did last year when he had trouble after not winning the championship.
And DW, the 18 of Kyle Busch, making his way back down pit road here shortly. Dave Rogers told him, you're going to have to come back. We have a loose wheel.
My.
But better now than when we go back racing. Think about Carl Edwards last week at Charlotte. Those guys had 3 laps to bring that driver back in, and better now than wait.
Let's go down to the Hollywood Hotel and check with Chris Myers.
Top of the hour, lap 166, and before we got through lap 9, 13 cars involved. That's Landon Castle in the 83 sliding down. Tony Stewart coming up. It left numerous problems, including one. Pablo Montoya caught at a sandwich there and out of the race. Tony Stewart has since come back. Jimmie Johnson overtaking the pole sitter. They dominated the first 100 laps, and problems in the pits here for Ryan Newman, almost running over one of Clint Bowyer's crew members. Later, Newman penalized for a separate uncontrollable tire penalty. And then moments ago, Carl Edwards, right front tire. So before we get to the halfway mark here, Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart, the 2 drivers who battled for the championship to the wire last year, Mike, are out of the picture at the moment.
Kyle Busch back on track after tightening the lug nuts. Here's our FedEx race summary. Jimmie Johnson is our leader. He's led 120 of 167 laps. 20 cars are on the lead lap, adding Marcus Ambrose, who gets the free pass on this caution. 4 leaders, 8 lead changes, and we're working our third caution flag of the afternoon, and that pile up at lap 9, the biggest one we've had this season. 13 cars involved. The All-Star Game on Fox, Tuesday, July 10th, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. We get ready for the restart. Jimmie Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Hendrick Chevrolet teammates, along with Dale Earnhardt Jr., all battling for the lead with Kevin Harvick.
That 48 car's bad fast on these restarts, and he's good on new tires. It'll be interesting to see if Jeff Gordon's got anything for his teammates.
Yeah, I think this will be the first time if we really can see if Jeff Gordon can run with Jimmie Johnson.
Lap times into the run, they were pretty equal, but I think Jimmy might be a little quicker on these get-goes.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. up for third against Harvick and Kenseth. He was really looking forward to today's race. Likes the complexity of this racetrack. All the Hendrick cars, all 4 in the top 10.
Yeah, and Larry, I think you mentioned this to me the other day, that the garage area right now is a nervous wreck about where these Hendrick cars are right now.
All 4 of them have speed every single week, doesn't matter what type of racetrack.
They single file it out after the restart. Here's Matt.
Mike, fast race car, disappointing finish for Carl Edwards. Did it give you any indication the tire was going to go?
No indication. Just drove down the corner. I was having a blast. We were running well, going to the front. Just really frustrated with that good of a race car to be sitting in here. But I think we had a tire go down. I don't know if we ran over something or whatever, but man, it's just such a fun racetrack. Car was so fast. I hope Matt or Greg can win this thing, but I'll go get a sub sandwich and we'll get it fixed. We'll get all the points we can.
Thanks, Matt. Kyle Busch on the move. Restarted 19th after they came back in to tighten loose lug nuts. And he was in a pack of heavy traffic there. So not yet able to gain much ground. Here's the 10th place battle. 2 Toyotas, Truex and Logano. Martin Truex's little brother Ryan, just 10 days off an appendectomy, raced here yesterday and nearly won the nationwide race. It was Joey Logano who got him in the closing laps when Truex got held up by lap traffic. So here's big brother Martin battling Logano. A couple of Northeasterners going side by side.
I believe they've helped that 16 car a lot, Larry. I mean, he couldn't keep up a little bit ago. They made the right adjustment. I love it when a crew chief and a driver can fix the car and get him back in the race. But I want to give a shout out to Carl. You think about what that man's been through, losing the championship last year in a tiebreaker, and his attitude this year, he doesn't have the attitude of a guy that lost the championship. He's been up. You just saw him there. He's up, and he's still fighting.
So that's what I admire about him. He's the same guy whether you're interviewing him in victory lane or coming out of the infield care center.
Or in the Hollywood Hotel.
Yeah.
Biffle battles Logano for 11th place. Joey's buddy Corey LaJoie had a big night last night at Bowman Gray Stadium, K&N Pro Series East. It was a wreck fest, as it is at the Madhouse often. Said they hit everything but the pace car, but Corey LaJoie went to victory lane. Very impressive run, and there's a young man with some talent.
I heard there were even some disagreements after the race.
At Bowman Gray, no way.
I heard a driver accosted another driver.
Imagine.
Well, Jeff Gordon, that 24 car running second to his teammate Jimmie Johnson. We keep talking about lap times. Just about 2 laps ago, he ran his fastest lap of this race.
He has to there.
if he wants to catch that blue car.
But what's impressive about that is everyone else ran their fastest lap of the race within the first 7 laps. Gordon ran his personal best on lap 129 and lowered it again just now at lap 174. So that 24 keeps getting quicker and quicker, and now he's just 3 car lengths behind Jimmie Johnson. Coming up on halfway in the FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks.
The FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Toyota Care, complimentary on every new Toyota.
14 laps to halfway. Watch the 9 of Marcus Ambrose. Boy, you could read the number, the sponsor, and everything on the right side as he came off the corner.
Drove it like a supercar.
He's running 19th. The battle for the lead continues to heat up. Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon.
I like what Kenny Schrader said at the Hendrick party. When he asked Jeff Gordon, he said, now you know how we all felt when you came on the scene, talking about Jimmy Johnson. And I know Jeff's sitting there looking at Jimmy thinking, dadgum, that guy's good.
They are both pretty good. Whoa, Junior up the hill in turn number 3. Harvick capitalizes.
My man Harvick got the whip out.
Look at the yaw in Harvick's car from Earnhardt's camera. That thing is hung out sideways all the way around turn 2.
It's a pretty good run for that 29 car right now. He's got good lap times. He's as good as the leaders. Same as Jeff Gordon. Got a pretty good car.
Yeah, this has not been that great of a racetrack for Kevin Harvick. 22 starts and only 2 top 5 finishes.
Shane Wilson's got him tightened up today, Larry. It's looking good.
Johnson now beginning to pull away a little bit on Jeff Gordon. Back in 5th place, Matt Kenseth, Mark Martin nose to tail.
I know this isn't typical Jeff Gordon, but I swear, I think he's driven his car awfully hard trying to get up there to race with Jimmy.
Back at 5th place, Matt Kenseth. Steve?
And the handle has gone away on that 17 car, Mike. Prior to the last stop, Matt said it feels like it has a 4,000-pound right rear spring and a pair of 1,500-pound springs in the front. I can't drive it this way. They did make some air pressure adjustment to that 17, and he is hanging in there instead.
And the air pressure here is huge. It's concrete. You've been on a concrete highway. We make this analogy every time we come here. Bumpity, 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 bump. That's the tire getting worked, and as it works the tire, the sidewall, the pressure would build up way more than any place else we go.
Now Kyle Busch had to come back in to tighten lug nuts and restarted at the back of the field, but Matt, he's gained hardly any ground since.
Mike, all is not well in Candyland. You mentioned the loss of track position due to the return to pit road. That's helped compound his issues of a very free race car. He says the splitter never touches the ground. I've got nothing. We are in trouble.
Well, he'd been complaining about that even before that problem on pit road. He was not that great on the long run.
Coming up, the AT&T mid-race report. You'll get our picks on what to look forward to in the second half of the FedEx 400 on Fox.
Glad you're with us. NASCAR on Fox in Dover, Delaware. Time for the AT&T mid-race report. Jimmy Johnson leads Jeff Gordon, and they have dominated Team Hendrick. Jimmy has led 160 laps 11 times, by the way. They have finished 1-2 in a race. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards came in 9th and 10th in points. A wreck for Tony Stewart, a tire problem for Carl Edwards. They are out of the picture, will not win this race. But, Darrell, who are you keeping an eye on?
Well, he calls me old timer and I call him rookie, but Kevin Harvick, I've been watching his lap times and he is coming to the front.
It's been so cool watching Jeff Gordon march through the field from his 14th starting spot. Jeff Gordon is going to be the man in the late parts of this race if he can just get around that aggravating Jimmy Johnson.
Michael, we saw it last week at Charlotte. Mistakes on pit road will take you right out of the picture. Think about Kyle Busch. Drove to the top 5 and then had that problem with the loose wheel all the way back to the last driver on the lead lap. Bad luck follows bad luck in the garage area, engine failure.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is just a high latch on. He has gone from tight to loose, back to tight. But if they find that sweet spot, and they are oh so close, Dale Earnhardt Jr. could end this day in victory lane. It's coming up on the first year anniversary last week. Does it end today, Mike?
Well, Krista, Jimmie Johnson to lead the halfway lap here at Dover. Big deal. He's led the halfway lap at Dover in 7 of the last 8 races here. But in those last 7, he's converted 3 of those to also lead the last lap, Chris.
And Mike, Matt Kenseth running 5th. We could see a new points leader at day's end. He's within 2 of overtaking Greg Biffle. Kenseth, the only driver to finish in the top 5 in each of the Dover races last year. But in the last 8 races, the driver who's led at the halfway point has not gone on to win the race. So stay tuned. That's your AT&T mid-race report. More NASCAR on Fox in a moment. The FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by FedEx, solutions that matter, and by American Ethanol, American grown, American made, powering NASCAR.
We have a new leader, and here's how it happened. Jeff Gordon rounded off turn 2 and into 3, caught Jimmie Johnson. Went to the high side to make the pass. 9th lead change of the day.
That's one of those lead changes that makes me go,
Gordon, for those 2 laps, was 0.6 of a second quicker than Johnson. Now they've settled down to just about the same lap times.
They absolutely match lap times, almost lap after lap. So I don't know, Jimmy got a little loose up off that corner or what happened.
So Johnson now second, 1 second back. Lap car of David Reagan. They're harassing Johnson. Kevin Harvick is the 3rd place car. He is 4 seconds from the lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr. now in 4th, 5.7 seconds back.
I will have to say this about Jeff Gordon, Larry. When he took the lead and he got out in clean air, he's put a little gap between he and the 48. Plus, his lap times have really improved a couple of tenths.
5th is Matt Kenseth. He's the first Ford in the race after 4 Chevrolets. Kenseth's 9 seconds back.
Then our pole sitter, Mark Martin, in the 55 car was really sliding backwards. Looks like they maybe are a couple adjustments away from getting him back to where he was earlier in the race.
It's kind of a Mark Martin way, you know. He gets real good to start, then he works on his car, messes with it a little bit, and gets it good for the finish.
Behind Martin is his Toyota teammate Clint Bowyer, 10 seconds off the lead in 7th.
And Boyer's been hanging around the top 10 all day long.
Well, he's still trying to recover from that issue on pit road where basically got some of his crew members run into.
All the Michael Waltrip's cars right in a row. 7, 8, or 6, 7, 8. Martin Truex Jr. in 8th. And here's the 4th of the Hendrick Chevys. Casey Kane in 9th, 14 seconds back of the lead. Then Eric Almirola, another 1.5 back. In Richard Petty's Ford.
And he was complaining about brakes. I don't think I would fix those brakes. I believe I'd leave him well enough alone right where he's at.
Might learn a lesson here.
Joey Logano in 11th after yesterday's win. 16 seconds back. And Greg Biffle trying to close. Biffle in 12th after starting 7th today. Jeff Burton's been top 15 most all day. He's in 13th right now. And then the Dodge boys. Brad Keselowski and A.J. Allmendinger, 14th and 15th, running nose to tail.
Always has to be such a disappointing day for Denny Hamlin back at an 11th car. 2 consecutive second place finishes at Darlington and Charlotte, just barely inside the top 20 back in 16.
Jamie McMurray trying to make the move on Hamlin for 16th. Is up 7 spots from where he started the day. That'll be 3 lap cars, and then Marcus Ambrose. Now that Ryan Newman's peeled off for pit road, Ambrose is the last car on the lead lap. 23 seconds back. Paul Menard is 1 lap down in the free pass position as Newman completes a 4-tire green flag stop and goes back out. The good news is he's got fresh tires. The bad news is you lose 2 laps doing it under green.
Yeah, Ryan Newman, he's a little bit early. We're about 8 to 10 laps away, but what he's trying to do is get advantage of those fresh tires before our leaders come in and get them.
Tony Stewart had a rough day, spent 60 laps behind the wall. And in the garage is where they continue to work on Kyle Busch's car, hoping to get him back out. Well, right there is what's put us under caution. Debris on the front straightaway at Dover at lap 174. Caution flies for the 4th time today. Pit road's open. Here's Steve.
Simple feedback from Kevin Harvick. A little loose in, a little loose off, but he overshoots his pit. They're going to have to back him up to get inside his pit box. Tough break for Kevin Harvick, who was running 3rd. Krista.
Steve, meanwhile, Jeff Gordon saying he's just a little too tight. Actually saying he got weird tight that run, but it's turning strong.
What did we just talk about at our mid-race report? Mistakes on pit road, and there you see one, Dick, by Kevin Harvick.
No mistakes here. Jimmy Johnson's crew has been absolutely flawless all day, Larry, including on that stop. On the last run, Johnson said the car had gotten a bit loose in the back, and usually he talks with Chad Knaus, the crew chief, about the behavior of the car, and Chad makes the decisions. This time, Jimmy called for the changes he wanted in the car.
Thanks, Dick. Here's our FedEx race off pit road. Matt Kenseth picks up 3 spots. Let's ride around with Kevin Harvick and listen as he comes onto pit road.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Harvick came in 3rd.
You know what worries me about that as much as anything? When he throws it in reverse, you can grind those gears and then spin the tire. That's hard on the gearbox.
Well, you're pitting on the curve there in turn number 4. And until you're right on top of it, you really don't have a good sight of where that pit box is, do you?
But he was being counted in. You could hear him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I don't know. My depth perception of the thing is not good. I can't pick up the little waiver there.
Couldn't pick up the pit sign, pitting on the curve there. So tough break for Harvick. Paul Menard gets the free pass, so he will advance. Let's go to the garage and Matt.
And Kyle Busch had absolutely no indication the motor was going to go. They were working the left side of the engine. Any idea what failed in the motor, Kyle?
I think it was a valve spring, which dropped the valve, hit the piston, catastrophic. So, real unfortunate. You know, we had a good car. We were running up front there, and just kind of biding our time, trying to see if we couldn't keep up with the racetrack. This M&M's Camry was good. Just didn't have enough for the front couple, I don't think, but a 3rd, 4th place car. But anything can happen. We've won one here before by stealing one, somebody making a mistake. But hated that, you know, we give a post-race interview this way rather than finishing in the top 5.
Kyle Busch, 4 straight top 10s here at Dover. There won't be a 5th today.
Thanks, Matt. Kevin Harvick's pit road miscue cost him. He came in 3rd and came out 18th. Happy Harvick, not so happy after that pit road stop. Now that looks like an easy sign to find. They're going to put a little more contrast tape there to make it even easier, but I think it's the angle coming in, picking up that sign, and as Kevin said, the depth perception of where the pit box wasn't that good for him. He restarts 18th. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson front row. Kenseth and Boyer, Earnhardt and Martin, Logano, Truex, Kane and Almirola, the top 10. We're back under green with 19 lead lap cars all the way back to Paul Menard.
I think this little mid-race change, this caution right here, give these guys a chance to make a couple more adjustments, could change the complexion of this race dramatically.
Boy, Clint Boyer in that 15 got quite the run through 1 and 2. He's trying to take this 2nd spot away from Johnson in the 48.
And that's what I said about this mid-race kind of break right here, Larry, where the guys we haven't talked about all day may just get up there and challenge.
Well, the last time those 2 Hendrick cars started side by side on the front row, 24 and 48, Boyer cleaned them all off turn 1 in Martinsville. This is different. This is high speed, high stakes action, with Boyer slotting into 2nd between Gordon and Johnson.
Boyer's car is, that thing is getting it right now, man. He can get back in the throttle and really come up off the corner.
Love that shot from the front of Denny Hamlin's car.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
You feel the speed from that bumper cam.
See it and feel it.
Just a quick update on one of the drivers that had made a green flag pit stop before that caution. Ryan Newman in the 39 went 2 laps down, stayed out, took the wave around. He's 1 lap down, back in the 20th position.
And the good thing for Newman is he's one of only 2 cars 1 lap down, so he's in the free pass position. As of this moment, Matt Kenseth would move into the Sprint Cup points lead over teammate Greg Biffle, who has had a troublesome day. All right, Jimmy Johnson to the inside of Clint Bowyer. Second place back to Johnson. Dick?
Bowyer has been doing better and better as this race has worn on, Mike. In the last run, he came out of the pits in the 11th spot, worked his way all the way up to 6th. Then the crew picked him up 2 additional positions. So, crew's getting positions, drivers getting positions, car is getting better. Watch for Bowyer as we get to the closing laps of this event.
These two almost took a swing at each other off turn number 4. Almirola and Truex were really in close quarters here. Have a look.
When you're down underneath somebody, you see that time and time again. That car on the bottom gets a little squirrely, and there's not a lot of room out there. I'll give Almirola credit. He stayed after it, made the pass.
8th place at stake there.
You know, one thing I was watching Jeff Gordon lead this race. Think about Darlington. Hendrick trying to get their 200 win. Jimmy Johnson got it for him. We go to Charlotte. Kasey Kahne needs a win. He's been in Hendrick. He's kind of frustrated. Hadn't got Kasey Kahne win Charlotte. We come in here. Jeff Gordon way back in the points. Needs some wins to get caught back up. He's out here getting the job done today.
So what do you tell me? Dale Jr. wins Pocono?
That could very well be.
Wouldn't be a surprise.
Wins for everyone.
Junior's in 5th, 3 seconds off the lead. Started 17th today. And that's Matt Kenseth moving underneath Bowyer.
Matt Kenseth got bad loose off turn 2 that time, but he was able to stay in the throttle.
Dick?
Clint Bowyer has picked up a significant piece of trash on his grill, Mike. Told by the crew chief, get it off. He just came by me. I didn't see it anymore. He got it while we were doing that report.
He was tucked up underneath Matt Kenseth quite a bit. That changes the pressure on the nose and actually will suck anything off of it that might be stuck to it.
Battle for 4th.
Boy, Junior is all over. I just hope old Clint doesn't have to get out of the gas for any reason. If he does, Junior's going to be all over him, into him. Not anymore.
Makes the pass.
Bye-bye.
And Earnhardt goes by into 4th.
Our pole sitter, Mark Martin, back there in that 55 car, I think they've made the right changes for Mark over these last couple of pit stops. He's worked his way back up there in the top 6.
Yeah, his car looks really good now, and it was off. They made some bad changes to that car a couple of times, a couple of pit stops. It looked like they made them right this time.
Martin leads Bowyer off the corner, then Logano. Keselowski trying to hold back Truex, and Kasey Kahne moving up, Krista.
Brad Keselowski is on the move. He is one of the few guys who did not have to make any adjustments to his car on that last stop. He said he has a neutral balance, but in dirty air, he just can't go anywhere. Right now, he's going somewhere, moving up into the top 10.
Thanks, Krista. Carl Edwards back in the race, but he makes only 1 lap and returns to pit road. Jeff Gordon leads Jimmy Johnson by 0.3 of a second. Here's Jeff Hammond at the University of Farmers.
Well, guys, right now it's all about striking distance. We're talking about the leader, the guy that gets out front. When I saw that last restart, these guys understand this race is getting shorter and shorter. You can't let that leader get out there in front of you and get away from you. So guys are starting to get a little bit frustrated with one another. I'm seeing some pushing and shoving. We're now looking at another lead change right off of turn 4. This is what I'm talking about. It's showtime, guys. Everybody's up on the wheel. It's time to go.
Jimmy Johnson gets the lead back, but Krista, what's up with Jeff Gordon?
Saw something is going on with the number 24 car. You see crew chief Alan Gustafson looking on. Jeff came on the radio and said, guys, something is weird with this car right now. He used weird to describe weird tight on the last run. This is bigger than that. They were up on the pit box looking, trying to figure it out. They don't know what's wrong, but right now, something.
Well, his last 2 laps were half a second slower than Jimmy Johnson's.
Yeah, he's falling well. And the thing about Carl Edwards, Carl was going along, all of a sudden he blew a right front tire. We haven't seen any tire issues, but when Jeff Gordon starts saying there's something weird, that would make me nervous.
The tire Goodyear brought here has has the same compound as last year, same rubber compound on the surface, but a little different construction.
Yeah,
mainly they brought here previously.
Mainly the construction change was to the left side. They actually did make a little bit of a compound change to the right side to try to make the track rubber in a little better.
So Jimmy Johnson back to the front with Jeff Gordon in second by 1.3 seconds, and Matt Kenseth trying to run him down. Kenseth's about 0.4 quicker than Gordon right now.
Does it come of any great surprise that something weird is going on with Jeff Gordon's car? I mean, the way he's gone, he's really off the pace now. He's back way off. When Jeff Gordon says there's something wrong, I'd be coming to pit road, buddy.
Kenseth goes by.
Come on, forward field, get them tight. Forward field.
Earnhardt draws in. And Earnhardt moves to third.
You guys think maybe he's got a loose wheel? Is that what he thinks feels weird? Is something wobbling? What do you think, Darrell?
Well, he didn't say vibration. He's not giving them a whole lot of input. Something weird. It's got to be a tire, I guess.
Jeff Gordon has led over 370 laps this season. He has not yet led the last lap.
Yeah, it had been about 20 laps since that last pit stop. You would have almost thought if it had been a loose wheel, he would have felt something before now.
Yeah, I think it would have complained about a vibration first. I don't know. We'll have to get a report here as soon as we can.
Krista?
Yeah, Mike, he used the word vibration, but only in the sense that he said it doesn't feel like that's what it is. He said it's not really a vibration. Something is just wrong and something is weird. The crew overlooking the 4 tires right now. They put on 4 tires. Everybody down off the pit box to try to find out what is going on. He said, Alan, do we have something on the tire? What is wrong? So far, they don't know.
You know, one thing we have fought a lot this year is these wheels slinging wheel weights off and getting out of balance. It happened to Jamie McMurray at Charlotte last week.
Jeff Gordon is so sharp, though, Larry. He can usually pinpoint what it is, and I didn't hear him really say.
So here's what's fresh off the wire. Jeff Gordon's struggles this season continue. If you could put a list of ways to not win a race, it would look pretty much like this. Everything but first place. Couple of bright spots. Texas, Charlotte, Phoenix, where he won last year. But nothing in the win column for Jeff Gordon. And that's what's fresh off the wire, served to you by KFC. Come in and taste why fresh is better.
That looked like my stock market report that we did in a pre-race show.
Krista.
Well, Alan Gustafson checked with the rear tire changer, Chad Abbott, and said, did you get him on tight? He thought he did, but as looking at the tires, they do think it was a loose wheel, a loose left rear. That was what was causing the weird condition. Again, Jeff said it didn't really feel like a vibration, so it was loose, though, according to the crew.
But you know, Mike and Darrell, when you looked at that graph, so many of those finishes was not indicative of the performance, but a lot of the same of what has happened here today.
Strange things happen at Dover. Oh, Kevin Harvick back up into the top 10. 255 laps complete. Oh.
The FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks is sponsored by Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speed. And by Subway Restaurants. Get your own turkey and bacon avocado today.
Jimmy Johnson leading Matt Kenseth by 2 seconds. Here's an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Brought to you by Sprint. Jimmy Johnson, fastest lap of the race and most laps led by a huge margin. To get unlimited access to the series, live in-car audio and real-time stats, you need the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile Android app, now available on the HTC Evo 4G Lite. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. 136 laps to go. 7 of the last 8 Dover races. Jimmy Johnson has led the halfway lap. And in 8 races here, he has led the most laps.
And Mike, if I were he, I just wouldn't get real comfortable with my car. Tell you why, there's a couple of guys lurking back there. Mark Martin, one of them, is matching his lap times. And I tell you, Harvick gets back up there. He's pretty fast, too.
Mark Martin, our pole sitter, now 5 seconds back of the lead, and Kevin Harvick resurging from that pit road miscue by Harvick. He is 9 seconds back in 9th place. And after the pit stop under green, Jeff Gordon is almost 2 laps down. Coming into the day, Greg Biffle was our points leader. Denny Hamlin was the runner-up. Where are they now? Matt.
Mike, rough day for the first and third in the championship standings now. Greg Biffle, 2 wins here, loves this place. He can drive aggressive, power off into the corner, but he has struggled most of the day, jumping back and forth between too free and too tight. They just cannot seem to hit on it. That window of the perfect setup very narrow here. Meanwhile, right behind him in the scoring rundown in 18th is Denny Hamlin. We documented earlier, not one of his better racetracks. He calls his racing here very mediocre, just not ever able to hit on it, and they haven't hit on it today. Driving one of the older cars in their fleet, running 18th, the car has been tight from the drop of the green.
But I tell you, his teammate is having a pretty darn good go of it today. Joey Logano in that 20 car sitting there running in the 6th position. And Dick, what are they saying in their pit?
Well, they're doing a whole lot better than they did in practice, Darrell. This morning when I went to that car in the garage, they were hauling out an entire wagon full of springs, and they threw something at it that they really didn't know if it was going to work or not. But it has worked. It has worked well. Right now, Joey Logano is in the 6th position. That means he's picked up 1 spot since he pitted.
You know what they threw at it? I bet they threw that setup they run yesterday at it. Because he won here yesterday.
Yeah, he did win that race that we ran here yesterday. And, you know, Joe Gibbs said this past week when he was asked about Joey Logano's status at Joe Gibbs Racing, he said, well, I'm a little bit puzzled. Joey has now won 4 of those support races, and 2 of them he beat Denny Hamlin. He beat my other driver, the driver that's up there well up inside the top 5 in points.
Got to perform in the big show.
Well, and the big difference in those 2 cars, this car, the Cup car, has much more horsepower, appears to have less downforce, so Darrell, it has to be different to drive.
Well, when we first heard about Joey Logano, where did we first hear about him at? In the East Series, in the Saturday Series. And when he moved up to Cup, I think they just moved him up so quick. I'm just not sure he ever got his legs under him the way he would like to in these Cup cars. He's done a good job, but he's got 1 win. And that's 1 win when it was a rain-shortened race.
True. 15th place, A.J. Allmendinger, Jamie McMurray going at it. Chevy versus Dodge there, and the sunshine has poked through down in turns 1 and 2 after cloud cover for much of the afternoon. That'll change things. And happy birthday, Jamie Mack. Happy birthday this weekend, Nelson Hastings. Camera 1 for many years here on NASCAR on Fox.
All kind of birthdays.
Yeah.
Krista had a birthday.
That's right.
Doc had a birthday last week. Van Colley had a birthday last week.
See Greg Biffle back there in that 16 car. It's like they almost take 2 steps forward with changes on Greg's car, 3 steps back.
I think that's just the car. It's just one of those cars that can't find its happy place. It's it can't seem to get it right. Now this car, on the other hand, with all those little guys all on the side of the car, and seems to be in a very happy place. He feels happy with himself.
135 miles an hour mid-corner and 170 at the end of the straightaway, Dick.
And the nice thing, Mike, is you look at his hands on the steering wheel, and Jimmie Johnson isn't fighting it at all. He told the crew just a little while ago that he's driving it, he's not pushing it, even though the car is a little bit loose. Boy, everything has gone his way in this race today.
And the thing you want to watch for, if you're watching at home, you don't ever want to turn the wheel to the right. Now, you can juke it a little in the middle of the corner the way he did, but corner entry and quarter exit, you always want to be pulling the wheel to the left. That's pretty obvious. That's the way we're going around the track.
Just to update the pit stop situation, should we stay green, we'll probably have green flag pit stops again here in about 12 to 15 laps. Steve.
Larry Matt Kenseth just gave feedback to his crew chief Jimmy Fennick. He said, I'm tight in traffic, which we can't fix, but I'm just tight all the way through this run.
Right now, he's almost 3 seconds behind our leader, Jimmie Johnson, in that 48.
Kansas started 5th, and after Johnson was the pre-race pick here at Dover. Jimmie Johnson, the leader, by 3 seconds over Matt Kenseth. 121 laps to go on the Monster Mile.
$114 laps to go here in Dover, Delaware. Jimmie Johnson, your leader, in time for an AT&T race break. And in case you tuned in a little bit late, Tony Stewart, the defending champ, on lap 9 of this race, caught up with Landon Castle. Biggest wreck of the year. 13 cars involved, including Juan Pablo Montoya. Caught at a sandwich here. Tony Stewart has since made his way back out onto the racetrack, but came in 9th in points. Carl Edwards, who came in 10th in points, had a tire problem. Kyle Busch had a valve spring problem. Jeff Gordon, who led for a while, had a loose wheel. They are all out of the picture in terms of winning this race, along with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers.
Yeah, and I think Jeff Gordon has got a chance to recover, but he's going to need a couple of caution flags. And Harvick's done a real nice job of rebounding. He is back in the picture inside the top 10.
And Matt Kenseth called this his favorite track, trying to run down. He won this race last year, trying to run down Jimmie Johnson, who has dominated, led more than 200 laps in this race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. running third. He's yet to win. We know that, but he's the only driver, Michael, who's finished on the lead lap in every race this year.
A really impressive run for Dale Jr. today. They've made that car better and better with every stop, so he could be a contender before it's over.
AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. You can text FAST to 34763 or go to AT&TFastestDriver.com. You'll have a chance to win 4Gs as you see the drivers there. Brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network. Rethink possible, and we're getting ready, Mike Joey, for pit stops.
Thanks, Chris. A.J. Allmendinger's been in along with the damaged cars of Regan Smith and Travis Kvapil. Here comes Brad Keselowski, and Kevin Harvick hits the mark in his pit stop. Steve?
Kevin Harvick saying the car is loose on throttle and loose off the turns. Krista.
Steve, Brad Keselowski has had a very neutral balance on this last run. They did make an adjustment on this stop. Steve?
The championship point leader, Greg Biffle, comes to a stop in his box. His comments to the team, I absolutely cannot drive this race car. It is just completely sideways. The sun is back out about the last 20% of this run. Dick.
And Martin Truex on pit road. Their biggest worry isn't the car, it's the crew chief, whose wife is in the hospital expecting a baby at any moment.
Jeff Burton finishes up, as does Casey Kane and Jamie McMurray. Clint Boyer now in with Joey Logano and Eric Almirola. Green flag stops continue. Dick.
And Joey Logano on pit road right now. This is a very experienced, seasoned crew. Next will be Boyer will be pitting as well. He'd like to have him free the car up, but the crew says they can't free it up enough. Matt.
And Eric Almirola, who's been running in the top 10 much of this last run, says you've got to tighten up this race car, not just on entry, everywhere. It is free from start to finish to the corner. 2 different adjustments on the 43.
Mark Martin, Marcus Ambrose in, Kurt Busch and Jimmie Johnson almost got together entering pit road. And Johnson surrenders the lead to Matt Kenseth to come down for service. Dick.
And Jimmie Johnson on pit road. As always, this will be a 4-tire change. It's been 4 tires all day long for virtually everybody who is a contender. As perfect a day as a team could ever hope for is what the 48 and Jimmie Johnson has been experiencing. Steve.
Matt Kenseth did a great job slowing This car is still tight. A small chassis adjustment for Matt Kenseth and 4 tires.
That'll turn the lead over to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who will come in this time. Ryan Newman's in as well, trying to make up the 2 laps he got down when he made a green flag stop just before the yellow flag waved. Kristen.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming into his pit stop. Chief Steve Letarte counting him in. He said, I'm free when the rubber is gone. I need my car tightened up just a little bit. The wrench is in the back. That is exactly what they do. Tighten him up for this next run. Dale Earnhardt Jr. very happy.
And so for the first time today, Denny Hamlin has the lead in his Joe Gibbs Toyota.
I think Denny's going to be coming to pit road this time, so we'll cycle through all of the lead lap drivers as far as green flag pit stops. It appears to me once Denny hits pit road, Jeff Gordon in the 24 will actually be the leader of this race. I think what we have to watch on Jeff Gordon, if he and Alan Gustafson can go to lap 325, it may not be a race winning move, but that tells me they can make it on one more stop. Matt.
And Denny Hamlin was optimistic on the grid when I talked to him about today's event, and they have absolutely been fighting tight from the drop of the green flag. Every stop, significant adjustments. You can see the wedge wrench in the back window again. Another crank trying to free up this Autism Speaks FedEx Toyota.
Carl Edwards makes a stop from 80 laps down. Hamlin goes back out, and Jeff Gordon is indeed your leader by 4 seconds ahead of Jimmy Johnson. Let's have a look at some of these drivers' challenges going from the 24-degree banking of turn 3 to the flat on pit road, like Brad Keselowski in the 2.
Well, we talked about this in the pre-race show. This is undoubtedly the most difficult road to get onto. Look at this 16 car right here. I mean, he's cooking it coming to that line. He almost lost it. We've seen that happen so many times here at Dover. And look at this. Almirola had to go to the outside to keep from running the back of Joey Logano.
And watch Matt Kenseth come in. Now, David Hoots talked about this in the drivers' meeting. Told everyone to be really careful entering pit road, and you've just seen why.
Well, and Matt Kenseth had to get slowed down because he's in that very first pit box. We talked about that earlier.
You remember in the pre-race show I showed you a problem that Matt Kenseth had here?
It was big.
Spectacular.
And here it is. Kenseth trying to get out of pit road, loses the car and goes into those water-filled tires at the inside end.
One of the best drivers and one of the best pit crews, and even the best have trouble here at Dover.
Yeah, Darrell, would you say it's a toss-up, toughest pit roads to get on to between here and maybe Darlington?
Yeah, but here it's so abrupt. You come right off that 24-degree banking down on that flat, and it's slick, and you see these guys lock their tires up. It's really hard to get slowed down.
Well, the Killer Bees did it again for Matt Kenseth. Before pit stops, Jimmy Johnson had a 4.5-second lead on Matt, and Matt knocked that down to 3.5 seconds by the time they came off pit road.
Let's take a look at the 2 laps that includes that green flag pit stop. This includes going around, coming on to pit road, and the pit stop. Brad Keselowski and his crew the quickest, but there you see Matt Kenseth in that 17 right there with it. Second quickest on that change of green flag stops.
Actually, Kenseth picked up 1.5 seconds on Jimmy Johnson, but right now they're chasing Jeff Gordon. Keep in mind that Gordon's tires have 44 more laps on them than the rest of the leaders. 97 laps to go in Dover. fastest cars on the racetrack right now. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Matt Kenseth are between them. Kenseth is closing on Johnson, who is losing ground to the race leader, his teammate.
Yeah, I think what Jeff Gordon's trying to do is get the biggest gap he can get. So if he has to pit, he's going to have to pit before these other guys get the biggest gap you can get in case a caution would fly.
Krista?
Yeah, that is exactly the plan. They are working the math right now. Their plan is to come in around lap 326. If they can make it to there, they feel they can do this on just one more stop. So right now, what they thought was a detriment could be an advantage for Jeff Gordon.
Well, all they can do, Krista, is split the run in half, as we see Eric Almirola in the 43 go by Joey Logano and Harvick as well in the 29. That's a battle right now for 7th place.
Well, I can see why Joey had to pedal it. He and Almirola went 4 laps side by side. That allowed Harvick to close. And finally, Logano said, no mas.
No mas. Take it.
So Almirola moves up to 7th, Harvick to 8th, and Logano sits in 9th. Mark Martin now 10th. Dropped a few spots in the pit stop exchange.
Whoa, 51 cars. Sorry.
Is he okay, Darrell?
Yeah, the 51 car got way up the hill over there in turn 2. I thought he was out of here.
Yeah, Kurt Busch right now 23rd, 7 laps down. But just to put that period on Krista Voter's report, that's the only hope that Jeff Gordon and his crew that they have making that unscheduled stop is split the run in half, 75 laps and 75 laps. They pitted at lap 250. And I think that's doable on fuel.
Imagine when they pitted, they fell back to 21st. Here they are leading the race.
And then all of our other lead lap drivers should have to make their pit stop somewhere around lap 350 to 355.
87 laps to go.
But that's a good team, a great team. They take a detriment and they try to work it to their advantage. You can't give up. Okay, what do we got and how do we overcome it?
How about the strange day of our Sprint Cup champion, Tony Stewart? Got involved in a wreck at lap 9. Really tore the car up. He spent 65 laps in the garage. Had a bad night at Charlotte last week. Ran the whole race, 600 miles, finished 25th. Where is he right now? Well, he came out of the garage, 65 laps down in 38th, and right now, he's 25th. Well, like last week.
And the saving grace for Tony Stewart as well as Carl Edwards in the 99. Carl, remember, had the right front tire go down. He's 1 spot behind Tony Stewart in 26, 82 laps down. Saving grace is all the drivers that fell out there in the beginning because of that big wreck.
But again, they fixed the car. They got back. That's a championship winning team.
Rewind. Casey Kane, Paul Menard, taking it to A.J. Allmendinger for 13th, and Martin Truex is in the mix as well.
Just so hard to run off the corner underneath somebody like you see the 5 is. He is going to clear him, but that's a hard pass to make, man.
Yeah, you see Ambrose back there in the 9 car as well. All of those drivers, lead lap drivers, battling for position.
You note that Dover International Speedway has 2 bridges, the Monster Bridge and the Walkover Bridge at Turn 2. You want to talk about a cool place to see a race from? Here's Jeff Hammond.
You got that right, Mike. Yes, I'm here on the Monster Bridge, and these folks right here have got a very unique opportunity to sit here, let these cars really just blast right under them, dive off into turn 3. But they also had probably one of the best seats in the house when the big one occurred early, about lap 9, when everybody crashed here on the back straightaways. Pretty incredible. You can see how the cars are coming up off the corners, getting loose. Some of the passes are going on. You can also hear a lot. Those pit stops a minute ago, this is a great place to hear everybody downshifting, getting on the brakes, trying to get into pit. So a lot of action, and you're right here basically above it.
Right there are maybe the greatest seats in all of sports. Right at your feet, 170 miles an hour.
Yeah, it'd be like sitting in the, over a football team, watching a football game from above, right over the top of the field.
13th place, Truex and Kane. Martin Truex and his brother Ryan from New Jersey. They are the sons of and nephews of racing brothers Barney and Martin Truex. New Jersey home to a lot of great modified drivers and teams, and we lost one this week, Don Ling, whose cars that he sponsored and his trucking company owned for his son Donnie and other great drivers. Big standouts in New Jersey, and Don passed this week. Our condolences to the Ling family. Saw that name on a lot of great race cars.
Boy, looking at Eric Almirola in that 43 car, he just drove to 6th position. Darrell, you talked about this earlier in the week. The confidence of that young man after sitting on the pole for the Coke 600 at Charlotte.
I've seen it. I mean, I saw it here all weekend. Just his interviews, the way he handled his body language, so much more positive than what I saw up until that performance he had last week in Charlotte. That was huge for him and this race team.
Let's have an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint, the new HTC Evo 4 GLTE. Jimmy Johnson, fastest lap of the race. Brad Keselowski, biggest mover since the last restart back at lap 230. Check out the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile Android app, now available on the HTC Evo 4 GLTE only for Sprint. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
And to follow up a little bit on Almirola, I think he felt the same way that Casey Kane felt. He didn't want Richard Petty to feel like he made a mistake hiring him. And so I think getting that good run last week, that pole, that really just shot a great shot of confidence. Just like Casey Kane winning the 600.
Mike, Darrell, looking at Jeff Gordon in that 24 car. We just completed lap 324. We should see him on pit road in the next lap or two. In fact, he's coming now. What they're going to have to do is make this 4-tire stop and hope we cycle through green flag stops without a caution.
Jeff Gordon could use a little luck. Hasn't had much good luck this season. Jimmy Johnson flashes by to retake the lead as Krista is with the 24.
And Mike, these are the moments these crews live for. They want redemption. They want this for their driver. Gas man Brad Pickens told, get it full. This is their only shot. They're putting the 4 tires on and getting their driver back out on the track.
Right now, we have about 17 drivers on the lead lap, and we're probably going to have to go about 20 to 25 laps to cycle through what would be green flag pit stops if we go caution free.
Everybody on the 24 team right now, they got their fingers crossed.
And holding
Come
their
on,
breath.
baby.
Yep. So Gordon pits at lap 325, 75 to go, just as predicted. Comes up to speed in the back straightaway. And he is 1+ laps down. He is not in the free pass position. That belongs to Denny Hamlin right now. Ryan Newman is the only other car 1 lap down.
And the good news for Gordon is he's got a fast race car. I mean, that's the big thing. It's not just going to be luck. He's going to have a car that's capable of doing what you're trying to do.
And he's got a car that on the long run today has been very good.
Yeah, it hasn't fallen off much at all.
Now, he had a 3-point-second lead over Jimmy Johnson when he pitted, and that's how he's able to complete the stop and get back up to speed, still comfortably on the lead lap, a straightaway ahead of Johnson. But Jimmy Johnson has just so dominated this speedway. 6 wins, 3rd on the all-time list, 2 season sweeps, and he's led the most laps in each of the 7 Dover races, including this one by a wide margin. Bobby Allison, Richard Petty have won here 7 times. Jimmy Johnson with 6. Then David Pearson with 5. And 5 drivers tied with 4 apiece.
Well, 6 of the last 7 races have been either won by Johnson 3 and the Busch brothers 3. And Matt Kenseth was able to win this race last year. Otherwise, he's the only guy that's broken into the win column over a Johnson or a Busch.
Now this is Jamie McMurray in the 1, battling our leader Jimmy Johnson in the 48, trying to stay on the lead lap. He would certainly love to see a caution.
This is where it takes so much patience. Jimmy Johnson, get annoyed. You're getting late in this race, you know, and you need to make all the time you can. You're being held up by a guy that you're trying to lap. He's got to be calm, be cool.
They're pretty even here. They're both on 40-lap tires. McMurray's car has gotten better as the race has worn on.
Still there.
See, right here's where you get really annoyed. Come on, man. Come on, let me go. Let me get on by. But he can't. McMurray can't. This is when you fight. This is when you fight for everything you're worth. Want to be able to.
Whoa, that's close.
Not quite.
We're going to have to wait about 20 laps to see. I think right now Jeff Gordon's race car is better than his teammate Jimmie Johnson.
But he's got to go to the luck bank. Larry, we just can't have another caution flag if Jeff Gordon is going to be in contention for this win. We'll go side by side with 67 laps to go in the FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks. Two of Dover International Speedway's most dominant drivers fighting it out for the win in the FedEx 400. Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth, Chevy versus Ford, with Earnhardt third, Boyer's Toyota fourth, and Almirola's Ford now up into the top 5. Kevin Harvick clawing back, he's 6th. Joey Logano, Jeff Burton top 10, Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski. And caution waves for the 6th time today for debris up in turns 3 and 4. And how does this fit into Jeff Gordon's plan?
Not good.
I won't say it takes him out of it, but it puts a big hole in it for sure, because he's not the first driver a lap down.
McMurray's a lucky dog. And that McMurray fighting with Jimmie Johnson, you know, we made a point about that. Why would he do that? Well, here's why.
So McMurray gets back on the lead lap with the free pass. Are Jeff Gordon's tires good enough that he might stay out and take the wave around?
I think that may be his only hope. If he's here to win, and we've already talked about it, it's all about winning for Jeff Gordon right now. It's not about a solid day.
Now listen, guys, you got to make reasonable decisions. Is it reasonable for him to do that?
Only has 15 laps on his tires.
And that's within reason.
Yes, sir.
And we only have 16 cars on the lead lap.
Might work.
I think it's a reasonable gamble.
I mean, it might work better than if he didn't do any. I mean, if he came in, it might work better than that.
Well, I know this, for those 16 drivers about to come to pit road, this is the money stop possibly for them and their race team.
Hope that 48 team is up to the task, because they had problems last week.
Pit road open, Steve. Whoa, they almost collide coming in.
They did. They hit.
Johnson and Kenseth. Steve.
Kenseth saying his car is edgy on entry. The middle's good, and he's a little free on exit. They'll make a very small chassis adjustment for Matt Kenseth, Krista.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying, I do not need any more adjustments. My car is turning. Do not tighten it up. I like what I've got. Dick?
Jimmie Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson in the lower right of your screen said he's having trouble figuring out what the car needs because it is changing so much. So his crew chief said, just drive it.
Mike Ford continues to make a strong impact on the 43. They were running in the top 5 when the caution came out. Almirola says he needs the car to turn better. Significant air pressure change on the 43.
FedEx race off pit road. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth. There was no contact between the two, but it was close. And how about Mark Martin up 10 spots with that 2-tire change? Here they are coming onto pit road. You must commit before the line, and Johnson, whoa, ho, ho.
Yeah, they didn't. Wow. I thought they hit, but they didn't. But remember, Jeff Gordon complained about that a little bit, but they're not taking into consideration where Kenseth's pit box is. He's just trying to get over there to get to where his pit box.
And what Kenseth does is legal. You're not allowed to pass under the caution or pass coming onto pit road.
It's that it's those little things that make the big difference on pit stops.
And most every time, Kenseth's been able to pick up spots on pit road, he and his Killer Bees pit crew. A big thank you to Dennis McGlynn and all the folks here at Dover International Speedway. They do some nice special things for folks, including this. Up there in the harness track enclosed grandstand, Autism Speaks has a suite for children with autism to attend today's race. Along with fun activities, they and their parents get a great view of the action on the track from that enclosed grandstand that's used both for the Sprint Cup weekends and for the harness track, horse racing here at Dover Downs. This track opened in 1969. The Rollins family and Melvin Joseph's construction company, built it. Kind of unique at the time when they rebuilt it with concrete, because there are no full width expansion joints in this concrete surface. They ran Indy cars and NASCAR, one race each the first year. 10,000 seats here in 1969.
As anticipated, Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, you can see him in front of leader Jimmy Johnson. He's going to take the wave around. I still say this was a great move, because I go back to the run when he had 20 more laps on his tires than anyone else. He was just as fast as those guys.
I don't know, but when you get down to the end of the race, everybody picks it up a little bit. Is he going to be able to pick it up and maintain?
Because if he'd have pitted, he still was going to be a lap down.
Krista?
Yeah, that's right, Larry Mack. And he actually got a little bit loose on that run, but it's such a short run. They pitted on lap 325. They know this is their only shot. The words to Jeff Gordon, dig in.
What do you say? You're a 4-time champion. It's time to get up on the wheel.
Gordon takes the wave around. He'll restart 18th. As we complete our 12th season of NASCAR on Fox, Dick Berggren will hang up his Fox headset at the end of the day after the Victory Lane interview. I've been pleased to share a microphone with him now for 40 years, public address radio and television, and what he has brought to this sport with his professionalism, his preparation. Hold the book up, Bergie. Show people the notes you go into each telecast with. I mean, that's a load on every team, on every driver, and every crew. And most importantly, the passion you bring to this sport is unequaled. Thank you so much.
He has something that we all aspire to, respect. He has respect of every person, not in the garage, not on the racetrack, in NASCAR.
Absolutely. Gonna miss him. For this restart, with 56 laps to go, Jimmy Johnson wails it on the restart, and Matt Kenseth did not get going. It's Johnson and Jr.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. took advantage of that restart by Matt Kenseth in the 17. Jumps into second now.
You know, that kind of looked like a restart there at the end of the All-Star race a couple of weeks ago when the Kenseth didn't go and Jr. was locked up behind him. Jr. didn't wait on him that time.
This time, Mark.
Oh, smoker turn 4.
Big cloud of smoke. Kurt Busch's engine has finally let go.
We heard him down a cylinder right before that last caution.
Yeah, I knew he was going by here rattling, and she didn't make it.
That's the break, though, that Jeff Gordon needed right there by taking that wave around. Now he can come get him 4 fresh tires.
Game on. Game on, boys.
Jeff Gordon finally gets to make a withdrawal at the luck bank.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what a season it has been for him.
I hope it's not overdraft.
18 cars on the lead lap. I believe we'll add Ryan Newman as the free pass car under this 6th caution of the day.
But just remember, even though Jeff Gordon, he's going to come in, he's going to get 4 tires, but there are 17 cars. I don't think anybody else will come in. 17 cars ahead of him.
Oh, he's got a vertical mountain to climb. I'll be the first to tell you.
That's right. It's working out for him the best it could work out.
And everybody else should stay out and have the fuel and tires they're going to run the rest of the race with.
But to be a driver that was on pit road not that many laps ago with a loose wheel under green, he's actually in pretty good shape.
The pits are open as the safety trucks work turn 4. That mosquito-killing cloud that was put down by Kurt Busch.
I don't believe there's any fluid on the track because it was all going up in smoke.
Everybody should stay out because they only have about a lap and a half on their tires.
Here comes Biffle. Oh, no.
There
He
goes
went
Biffle.
underneath.
It was a
very slow.
Faked him out.
Joey Logano, who I guess is just getting put back into the proper position there.
You know, while we're looking at these cars, you see Jeff Gordon coming on pit road to make that stop. How about our man Kevin Harvick? Had his problems on pit road. Look where he is now.
Krista.
Mike, you mentioned the First National Bank of Luck. Well, Jeff Gordon has been looking to make that deposit all season long. The crew changing the 4 tires. He said he did get a little bit loose on that run. He has to pass a lot of cars, but he is a 4-time Dover winner. If anyone can do it, he can. This will be fun to watch.
So it's a new ball game for the 24, who at one time dominated at this racetrack. For many years, Jeff Gordon led the most laps here, won races here, but has not had a lot of success here since 2006. Dick?
Joey Logano has just told the crew that the car shut off all by itself, that he didn't touch a thing, and he asked the crew, how does it do that?
Yeah, and he was 8th. Now he's back to 15th. He'll have to stay there because, remember, you have to maintain caution car speed under caution.
Now to Chris Myers to recap the day thus far.
Mike, with Michael Waltrip, we're under our 6th caution. 15 drivers, cars out of this race. This was on lap 9. Landon Castle and Tony Stewart defending champs.
Yeah, those two's paths just crossed. And, you know, it's a shame because it was so early in the race. I think if that happens later on in the race, they blame each other. But darn, right there so early, they didn't understand what happened.
13 cars involved, and then Carl Edwards trying to stay in the top 10 in points, working his way up. Had a problem leaking fluid, right front tire. Jeff Gordon took the lead from Jimmy Johnson, who had led for 126 consecutive laps. Kevin Harvick was up to 3rd, had a problem in the pits, fell back to 18th, is working his way back now up to 4th. And we have Jimmy Johnson leading Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth here with just 52 laps to go.
I like Dale Jr.'s chances. They've really improved that car. And into that last green flag run, he was closing on our leader. So he won here back in 2001. Maybe it's time for Jr. to get that win.
But what a shakeup with headline drivers. We showed Edwards and Tony Stewart. Kyle Busch also with a problem. Harvick has worked his way back. And Jeff Gordon, certainly a guy who came in leading the 3rd most laps this season, still searching for that first win. Still a long shot.
Yeah, halfway I said he's my guy. Man, he didn't disappoint. He got that car to the front very strong, had a problem with the pit stop. Now we're going to see some action out of this guy. He's got a little bit of time and a whole lot of ground to make up.
Jimmy Johnson, who has led the most laps in this race and has really dominated, as we've pointed out through here. He's the guy that got Hendrick Motorsports rolling. They've been on a roll ever since. He's still the guy to beat at this moment.
Yeah, he got the 200th win, got the All-Star victory. They won the pit crew competition. Casey Kane wins the 600. Win, win, win. That's what this organization is all about right now. And they're sitting good with that guy in the front late in the going.
It's been a tough, grueling race here at the Monster Mile. We have 51 miles to go. Jimmy Johnson leading Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, and Kevin Harvick. And we'll have more in a moment.
Welcome back to Dover. We're setting up for a title fight. Last fall here, Jimmie Johnson lost the race after a late restart. Kurt Busch went to victory lane. Busch has just brought this caution out and gone to the garage. He won't be a factor. But this man will. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s fought his way up to second from 17th. Led a couple of laps earlier during one of the pit stop exchanges, trying to clean the debris off his tires as we might be a lap away from going back to green. Dick Berggren.
Well, Chad, this is the 7th time in a row you guys have dominated this thing, but we still have some more laps to go. How nerve-wracking is it as you watch these laps wind down?
Well, it's always stressful, obviously, but it's a lot of fun. Jimmy's done a great job today. Picker's done a really good job. You know, the Madagascar Chevrolet is running great. It's pretty fun to watch it up there, and, you know, I really think we got a good shot at it, but you just don't know. 50 laps around this place can be pretty treacherous, and I'm just happy to see all the Hendrick Motorsports cars running well, and want to say happy retirement to you, buddy, and it's an honor to have you in our pits for your last race.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Dick. Johnson outside, Earnhardt inside. Kenseth and Harvick, row 2. Bowyer and Martin, row 3. Almirola, great race for him today. He's 7th with Truex 8th. Biffle and Jeff Burton the top 10. The rest of the lead lap cars: Menard, Ambrose, Keselowski, Allmendinger, Logano, McMurray, Kane. Jeff Gordon has to come from 18th, and Ryan Newman.
I would say if there's any messing around on that inside line, keep a close watch on our buddy Kevin Harvick in that 29. I believe he's going to start ramping it up here.
I just can't believe it. He overcame that trouble. That bad pit stop he had back in 18th, 19th place. Here he is in the hunt.
Driver error getting onto pit road, but Harvick has rebounded.
Sometimes that's motivation, Mike.
Handsomely, yep. Pace cars in. We are going to restart with 48 laps to go. This could be the run to the checkered flag, and who will come out first?
It's going to be a shootout, I can tell you.
Green flag in the air. Johnson advantage on the restart. Harvick side by side with Earnhardt. They dive down into the roller coaster of turn 1. Kenseth 4th, Bowyer 5th, Martin 6th, Almirola.
There's the run. Harvick got the run off of turn 2. Takes that second spot away from Junior in the 88.
He got right down on Junior's door. I mean, and that just pinned Junior down, and Harvick was able to make the pass.
Contact Almirola, Martin, and Truex. Everybody bails off into the corner, and they sort it out. Burton and Truex now.
Saw smoke out of the left front of Mark Martin's 55 car. Not sure what that was from.
He got into a bump with Truex there, Darrell.
It could be. He had looked like a fender rubber or something going off into turn 1.
Truex underneath the 55. And there is Jeff Gordon, 16th now. Long way to go. 46 laps to get there. And here's Truex and Martin, teammates yet again battling. Burton wants to be a part of that and then backs off.
One thing I noticed about Gordon's car time and time again, out front, it's a rocket. In traffic, sometimes he struggles.
Behind Allmendinger, he's 16th right now.
Yeah, I think as long as Jeff Gordon only has to get to him one at a time, I think he's probably going to be okay. I think it's when they bunch up in front of him, that's where it's going to really clog him down.
Oh, he just slid up in front of Allmendinger right there. That was taking a chance, but that's where he is right now. You got to take some chances.
Look at the lead Johnson has built. 1 second over Harvick, 2 seconds over Earnhardt, then Kenseth and Bowyer.
Well, I've been watching this 48 car. He's been running 24, 20s, and 30s on restarts. Right now, he just ran a 23.90. He is on it. He's ramped it up.
Seems there's nobody better at figuring out this tricky concrete racetrack as it goes through different changes and cycles through the day. Nobody better at it than Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus. What about the third place car, Krista?
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has gone from tight to loose in this race. They have just continually tightened it up. But on that last stop, he said, no, I don't need it tightened up anymore. I am turning. They just told him, you got 2 good corners. Now go get those 2 guys in front of you.
He is 1 second make that 2 seconds off the lead. 42 laps to go. How about a last chance for 2012 for a NASCAR on Fox? Crank it up. Seven laps to go. Jimmy Johnson stretching it out.
Oh, trouble right here, front straightaway. 31 car up in smoke.
Jeff Burton has blown up.
Stay out there, stay out there, stay out there, stay out there. Still coming. Stay out there, man. Stay out there.
And he had a great top 10 day going after starting about in the top 15.
That's the third engine failure that we've had here at Dover today. Normally Dover is not that hard on engines.
If I were Jeff Gordon, I'd be licking my chops, because you know why? I might just come back to pit road and get me 4 more new tires.
Denny Hamlin will be the free pass car. Just in front of Greg Biffle and Marcus Ambrose. Jeff Burton's day goes up in smoke. He was in 9th place at the time.
Because there's only there's 19 cars on the lead lap. Would it be worth the gamble to come and do something like that right now?
Well, and what I was just looking at is most of our lead lap drivers right now, they have somewhere around 18 to 20 laps. We may see even more at the back of the pack of the lead lap drivers come to pit road, possibly adjustments and more tires.
I just wonder, I mean, this is the worst possible scenario for a crew chief. Do I stay out? I got pretty good tires on my car. What if everybody behind me comes in?
Well, we talked about it before the race. Strategy won this race both times in 2011. It was the drivers and their teams that played the right car. Looks like Mark Martin in the 55. He hits pit road, brings Greg Biffle and several others, including Jeff Gordon, with him.
But he only took 2 tires on the last caution. Mark Martin did.
Jeff Gordon got a little shoving match there with Paul Menard, which might date back to the pass he made on Menard on the track several laps ago, Krista.
Yeah, and it's been just a crazy race for Jeff Gordon. They're making a slight adjustment for their driver. Jeff Gordon's going to get everything he can out of this race car so he can chase him down. Matt?
57 laps on Mark Martin's lefts and 12 on the right. So they're going to go 4 tires. Slight chassis adjustment. Meanwhile, Greg Biffle says his car was tight on that last run as well. Adjustment already completed on Mark Martin's car. He says his car just a whisker tight. It's so much better than it was earlier in the race.
So drivers from 8th place on back pitted during this caution. Brian Newman's 2-tire stop picks up about 5 positions there. Boy, Jeff Gordon's had his issues coming out of pit road today. First with Matt Kenseth and here with Paul Menard. Bottom of your screen.
But when you stay out that late, Mike, I mean, he opened the door for the 27 car to get under him. He's way out there kind of like he's not coming, and then the 27's already committed.
Yeah, that was like it looked like a last-minute decision on Jeff Gordon and his crew to come on and come to pit road.
But I think it was a good call, Larry. I don't know if it's a race-winning call, but he's got 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, I think it only cost him 2 positions to make that pit stop. Here's some audio from Team 24.
Hey, Jeff, if 5 or more pit, stay out. If they do not, then we will pit. Okay, too far off, a little loose. 10-4.
So he almost let Jeff Gordon make the call. He said if 5 drivers or more stay out, come to pit road. Well, obviously Jeff could see that.
And that's why he was late getting on pit road, because he was counting cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's 5.
Here we go. Steve.
With Shane Wilson, crew chief for Kevin Harvick. Shane, you guys have done a great job of battling to be in this position. Do you have anything for the 48?
Well, the last couple laps here, we were pretty close to even. So, he'll start on the outside. That's kind of a nice advantage. But no matter what, it's been a good day today, and just want to thank everybody at RCR working hard, and we just got to keep on working and keep our cars up here.
All right, thanks, Shane. Let's go to Chris Devoda.
Steve, the crew chief for the driver of the 3rd place car, Dale Earnhardt Jr., is Steve Letarte. You guys did not make any adjustments on that last stop. Dale said his car is good. How good can you catch your teammate?
Well, I don't know. That 48's been strong all day long. It really just comes down to the restarts. I think we've got great restarts all day, but I can't say enough about this whole team. The AMP Energy Chevrolet was about a 15th place car all day Friday. We all put our heads together on Saturday. The engineers done a great job. Everybody stepped up. His stops went great. Dale's drove a great race. This is one of our weaker tracks, so to even be in the hunt feels good, but it's never over. We still got some exciting laps to finish.
Can't wait to see what happens. Thanks, Steve.
Now consider this restart. Last restart, Johnson started outside, Earnhardt inside, Harvick third. Harvick got through for second by restarting outside. Now we expect Johnson to restart outside. Harvick will be on the inside, and Earnhardt will restart outside and try to do to Harvick what Harvick did to him one restart ago.
And there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, that outside line has just got the momentum, and you pinch that guy down on the inside, you got the run. Should work out good for the 88.
This July, don't miss the biggest event of the summer. Baseball's greatest stars battle for home field advantage in the World Series. The road to the series begins with the 2012 MLB All-Star Game, Tuesday, July 10th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, right here on Fox.
Yeah, actually, Mike, the 88's going to be pinned on the inside, and the 17's going to have the outside. That's going to hurt the 88.
That's right, because only the leader gets lane choice.
That's right. You're right.
Harvick restarted 4th last time. Earnhardt is 3rd. Making it doubly tough for both Harvick and Earnhardt Jr. And the real break on this will go to Matt Kenseth.
But Kenseth has not been that great on restarts. He needs to get up on the chip here.
And there's Denny Hamlin, who just got back on the lead lap with the free pass. Mark Martin has fresh tires. He will restart from 13th. Ryan Newman 12th. They both have tires along with Biffle and Menard. Casey Kane will come from 11th. Clint Boyer from 5th.
But what a nice run for Boyer. I mean, here we are late in the day. He's sitting here in 5th spot. That's a great run for him.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will restart 3rd, cleaning his tires on the back straightaway. And it'll be Kevin Harvick on the inside of Jimmy Johnson for this pivotal restart that'll come with 31 laps to go.
I mean, based on what we've seen, the 48 car, it's going to be hard to do anything with him.
Definitely have to make sure you have those tires cleaned off. You don't want to spin these tires on this restart.
Right. Jimmy Johnson is a cool customer. He doesn't usually make any mistakes, but this is one time you better get it right.
31 laps before someone drives into Sunoco victory lane. Green flag. Harvick even with Johnson at the start finish. Jimmy pulls away just a little bit. Kenseth got a good restart, but can't capitalize. Harvick right with Johnson off turn 2.
Boy, Kevin Harvick jumped in that throttle trying to get that run. It just wouldn't quite stick over there in turn 2.
Tell you what, you better get some going when he's behind you, because he's a hungry hound.
Is it closing time?
It might be. We know where he came from today.
That's right.
I just think it's been an awesome job he's done to get back to where he is.
Truex side by side with Almirola. They battled each other all day long. Fought hard for 6th place, and Marcus Ambrose is right with them.
It's a great recovery for Marcus Ambrose in that 9 car. He had his hands full the first part of this race.
He has no choice. He's had to go all day long, and he has no brakes.
Here's your 5-hour energy big move of the race, and it's this restart. Watch the 29 of Kevin Harvick and how he is able from the inside to stay with Jimmie Johnson as they roll from turns 1 and 2 under green and come off the corner solidly in second place. Challenge from Kenseth. Harvick powers out of the corner, and he's second. 14th place, Jeff Gordon trying to drive to the front. He just passes Allmendinger for 14th.
And it wasn't an easy pass either. Allmendinger really put up a fight, but Jeff's a little bit better than he is.
So now Gordon sets his sight on our points leader coming into Dover, Greg Biffle, in the 16 car up there in 13th.
Looks like Gordon will get back to the top 10. But it also looks like time's going to run out for him to run down his teammates at the front. Jimmie Johnson, the leader, Earnhardt in fourth. And here's his other teammate, Kasey Kahne, battling the Penske Dodge of Keselowski.
If you came to pit road on this caution and you got tires, you're hoping there's another caution. That could be a big advantage.
Logano and Ambrose side by side. Gordon has passed Newman as this battle for ninth. Another nice day for Richard Petty Motorsports Fords.
Yeah, they ran great last week. The 9 car had trouble, but today they're both getting really good finishes.
Well, Ambrose had great runs here last year, as well as the 43 car last year with A.J. Allmendinger.
Well, we just had a problem there off turn 2. The 20 car broke the momentum of the 9, opened the door for Kasey Kahne in the 5.
I think Ambrose will hold him off, though. That number 9 has been good coming off the corner.
That's a engine number 9, looking pretty good.
Keselowski and Biffle are right there on Kasey Kahne.
Boy, Keselowski got the good run off turn 2. He's going to take the bottom away from Kahne. Biffle trying to follow, but Kahne gets a great run there.
Keselowski slips off of 4. Biffle is there and makes the pass. 23 laps to go in Dover. Jimmie Johnson leads Kevin Harvick by 1.3. "19 laps to go in Dover, Delaware. Jimmie Johnson, the leader. Of the 8 races in which Johnson has led more than 225 laps, he's gone to victory lane in 7 of those 8 races. He's already led 271 today, and he's pulling away from Kevin Harvick by a couple of hundredths per lap. Harvick did a great job on the restart to establish himself in second after coming from a long way back. Matt Kenseth, best of the Fords all day. He is third. Dale Jr. Chevrolet fourth, and Clint Bowyer's Toyota fifth. There's the interval. Harvick gains a little, loses just a little. That's got to be frustrating.
Oh, it's
to
very
be that close and able to get no closer.
But you also know how good that 48 car's been all day. And I think Harvick really was motivated by the problem he had in the pits to get back to where he is. I don't care who you are. You're just going to sit there and watch that 48 car out your windshield. When that 48 car is on, and Larry knows this, when that thing is on, it's almost impossible to beat those guys.
That's the way it's certainly been today. We knew watching him in Friday's practice, and then when he went out and qualified second, it's like, whoa, be into the competitor.
I say it all the time, but when they qualify well, the first 4 or 5, they're going to be tough in a race. You can count on it.
All of our top 5 started in the top 6 spots, except Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's come from 17th today.
Well, Jimmy's coming off turn 2 right now, and Jeff Gordon, who we kind of were tracking, he just went by the start-finish line. He's almost a half lap down to the leader.
Right now, Jeff Gordon sitting back in the 13th position. He was in a quest today to get his 400th career top 10 finish in Sprint Cup. He's got a lot of work to do in a short time to do it to get there.
Yeah, he's got 3 guys here lined up pretty good, but Keselowski's been holding him up quite a bit. Biffle's up there, and looks like Marcus is up there too, so he could possibly get by those guys, but not looking good.
He is less than a second behind the 10th place car. As we all know, catching them is one thing, passing them another. 12 to go for Jimmie Johnson. And Harvick has carved a 10th off of Johnson's lead, but it's 1.4 seconds with 12 laps to go.
Yeah, well, with 12 laps to go, Jimmy's now being a little on the conservative side, thinking about what if there was another caution. He and Chad Knaus, most of these guys are thinking, what would I do if there were a caution now?
Look, Kevin Harvick running in the second position. He has not had a top 5 finish since finishing 4th at Auto Club Speedway roughly about 2 months ago.
And that time by, Johnson ran a 24:37 and Harvick ran a 24:55. He got a couple of tenths just about in the bank all day long.
Now Kevin had to pedal it there for a lapped car. Not quite sure where Travis Kvapil was going to be when he caught him mid-corner. Matt Kenseth, best of the Fords today, and the other driver besides Johnson who you would most expect to end up in victory lane at Dover.
And the thing about Jimmie Johnson, he has no traffic. No. It's clear sailing from here to the finish line. So all he's got to do is keep Harvick at bay, drive his race, don't make any mistakes, got it in the bag.
Clint Bowyer's actually the fastest car on the racetrack in fifth place, 4.2. And Eric Almirola, you know, he drives like a veteran. It's easy to lose sight of the fact that this is his first time ever at Dover in a Sprint Cup car.
He won a truck race here a couple of years ago, but making his first start in the Sprint Cup. And here's a guy that I know came here wanting to win this race. Martin Truex Jr. looks at it as a home track. Really was off when he dropped the green flag, but he has fought and clawed his way, sitting in 7th right now, but a little bit of pressure from Joey Logano in that 20.
Logano, winner yesterday here in the Saturday race.
Kasey Kahne, he's fought his way into the top 10. He hadn't had the kind of day I thought he would have after coming off that victory at Charlotte last week, but a solid top 10.
And Marcus Ambrose trying to hold off Greg Biffle. How many laps ago was it we could see the whole right side of Ambrose's car as it came straight at us off, well, it wasn't straight, but as we look straight down the backstretch off turn 2, he was just flat sideways.
I think that's what we're seeing with Greg Biffle in the 16 now as he's trying to get by Ambrose.
Yeah,
all day long.
Working on each other pretty good. They both their cars have looked a lot alike all day long. And the Biff's another one that I kind of thought would have a better day than he had.
Look how close it would be at the top in the positions they're running with 6 laps to go. Greg Biffle would hold off Matt Kenseth, his teammate, for the point lead by just 1.
Well, here's the other thing that the 48 car is thinking about too, Larry. This is a race that's in the chase, and they like to have their car right for those chase races. Think about where they win at leading up to the chase. The tracks that are in the chase.
Exactly. But it's amazing, 13 races, and those two teammates, as we run right now, only 1 point, 1 position apart from each other.
Well, it's a long way to Richmond.
Yes, it is. We're halfway there.
.6 seconds, the difference first to second. 4 laps to go.
4 laps to go, and Junior's actually catching Kenseth a little bit here. Lap times are just a skosh better.
There's Matt in blue and yellow and Junior in green, and Bowyer continues to be one of the quickest cars here.
Making a late charge here, just trying to get up there. I don't think there's enough laps left, but still making a nice run here at the end.
This has been a great weekend for Clint Bowyer. Qualified great, had to overcome some problems on pit road early when Ryan Newman hit some of his crew members. Here he is sitting in the top 5.
Well, if everybody minds their manners and Jimmie Johnson's holding his breath, Chad Knaus is holding his breath, next time by will be the white flag.
Marcus Ambrose quickest in that lap, trying to make some time from 10.
Here comes Jimmy off turn 4.
One more lap, dog. That's what we need.
The done deal.
Nobody ahead, and Kevin Harvick now 2 seconds behind. Then Kenseth, Earnhardt, and Bowyer. 3 Chevys, a Ford, and a Toyota in the top 5. Winner at Darlington. 8th on the all-time win list. 7th Dover win, tying Richard Petty and Bobby Allison for the most here. Jimmie Johnson wins the FedEx 400, benefiting Autism Speaks, his 57th career win.
Wonderful, wonderful job, everybody. Jimmy, you whipped them today, man. Maximum points today, man. That was fantastic.
I like max points. And that's 202 on their way to 250.
Look who feels pretty.
Yes, well, if you're going to wear those, you better win.
That's right. Kind of like that on the headrest, too. Little Dick Berggren decal for Jimmie Johnson.
There you go. Everybody in the garage area just loves Dick Berggren.
Jimmie Johnson led 289 laps, including the final 76.
You know why you do it that way? Because the track's banked, and that's where you'd end up if you tried to do a donut.
Or like Greg Biffle a few years ago going through the outside gate.
Yeah. That's a good point. Not a lot of room here for a burnout.
Boy, it wasn't that many weeks ago everyone was asking, where is Jimmie Johnson in the 48 team? I think we found them.
They woke up a sleeping giant, what they did.
Hey, bro.
Well, the day started with the season's biggest pileup, 13 cars on lap 9, including defending Sprint Cup champ Tony Stewart. And it ends up with another dominating performance by the driver of the Lowe's Chevrolet. Jimmie Johnson, just unstoppable today in Dover. We'll be back for Victory Lane, post-race celebration, and more stories from the garage. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Time for the Sprint post-race show. Jimmie Johnson started the year 42nd at Daytona. Had that violation they appealed and won to keep his crew chief in points. Never wigs out. Always stays calm and cool. And today led 289 of the 400 miles. The dominator, as he has been here, the 5-time champ after missing the championship last year. Back in the hunt, moves up to 5th in points. And down in victory lane, the ageless Dick Berggren to congratulate.
Wow, and what a haircut on today's winner. Jimmy, another dominating performance here at Dover. What was the element that was the most important that led to today's success?
Man, it was a team effort. Obviously, I had an amazing Lowe's Chevrolet to drive today. I think that 24 was the car to beat. Had a few tenths on us, but he had some troubles. I think the way we protected the win was pit road. You know, last week was hard on us, but this week these guys stepped up and did it every time I was on pit road. And awesome day for this Madagascar 3 Lowe's Chevrolet.
All right, what's the story with the haircut?
Well, the hair growth has to do with the movie here. Afro Circus is something that should ring a bell the most. But all these characters wear this at some point in the movie, and I couldn't resist but to put it on today.
You look lovely. Chris Myers.
Thank you for all that you've done for our sport. We're going to miss you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And well put by the 5-time champ. He promotes because he cares, and we thank you, Dick Berggren. He speaks for all of us. Those watching, those who've worked with you. Touching moment at the drivers' meeting earlier today, sending you off at age 70, still with the energy and passion of a 17-year-old for the sport of NASCAR. We wish Dick Berggren well in his effort to build a museum up in the Northeast for race fans. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon, who is still searching for that first win this year, has had a rough year. Our Matt Yoakum caught up with him.
The 4-time champ and the DuPont guys made a major rally, just couldn't overcome that left rear tire issue earlier on. That seemed to set your tone. What positive can you take away from a day like today, Jeff?
We had the best race car. We just been talking about this too many times this year. We cannot afford to make mistakes. You can't afford to get behind on, especially guys like the 48. I mean, we had the best car, that I've had here in a very, very long time. We had the car to win the race, and it's very unfortunate. And we put ourselves in that position. And we paid the price, I mean, I don't get the debris caution, I'll be honest with you on that. I mean, even with the problem, we still had a shot at winning this race, and it was going to possibly work out in our favor. And I think we should have won this race, but congratulations to Jimmy. It was fun racing with him. Proud of all these guys in this DuPont Chevrolet, but, I'm just tired of these same old things, something, one thing or another, just getting us, when we've got the best car out there. So, we're just going to Pocono.
Very dominant race car today in Dover. Jeff Gordon, 13th.
Well, Kevin Harvick, you guys really had to battle. You put yourself in a little bit of a hole when you overshot your pit on lap 226, but you guys really fought.
Yeah, I'm just glad we had a Jimmy John Chevrolet that was capable of keeping up today, and to be able to make up that much track position says a lot about the distance that we've made up on the cars. So we fixed a lot of problems. Driver made the biggest mistake today, but we fixed the pit crew. We fixed a lot of things, and we're right on the verge of having enough speed to win races.
How important was this top 5 finish for momentum, moving forward?
Well, this never has been a really strong track for us, and I feel like this is the best race we've ever run here. So to come here and do that and be able to be solid all day and not fluke into something is what we needed.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve and Kevin. Harvick's first top 5 since March as they celebrate for Jimmy Johnson and Team Hendrick. We check the unofficial results. Chris Myers, Michael Waltrip here. And for Matt Kenseth, finishing ahead of Greg Biffle. 5 of the last 6 races. He's now within 1 point of fifth for the overall points lead after 13 races.
What a great battle we have for that point lead. Just a great season for the Roush cars, but you have to watch Jimmy Johnson. The Hendrick Motorsports train seems to be smoking.
There is Biffle finishing 11th. By the way, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with that 4th place finish, 10th top 10 finish this year.
He's finished every lap.
Lead drivers, all drivers through this season. But Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, they battled for the championship toe-to-toe. An exciting finish last year. Rough day for them. The halfway mark to the chase. And let's bring in for the final time this year our NASCAR on Fox crew. And they've continued, as many have, their tribute to Dick Berggren with his style beret. Let's get some final thoughts from Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Well, best finish for Kevin Harvick ever at Dover in 23 starts. Best finish for Joey Logano this year. Jimmy Johnson's dominating performance, though, boy, just hard to ignore how strong that team is at adapting to an ever-changing racetrack.
Yeah, the concrete surface. Once you come up with a package that works on that concrete, whether it's springs, shocks, sway bars, driving style, once you get it figured out, you can repeat it over and over again. Concrete is so much more consistent than the ever-changing asphalt. So, obviously, the 48 team have this joint figured out. I'm not saying it's a good indication of what's going to happen down the road, but right now they're the team to beat.
And I tell you, you talked about Joey Logano. We got to get a call out to Richard Petty Motorsports. They swept the front row at Charlotte last week in qualifying, and both of those drivers, Eric Almirola and Marcus Ambrose, come home with top 10. Even though Jimmy Johnson up there dominating, there were a lot of drivers that got good finishes today. Even Clint Boyer, that gets only his second top 5 of the year, finishing up there and had a strong weekend.
It's a hard day. I don't want to take this headset off. I want to see what happens next. I want to go to Pocono. I want to go on. But we leave you with NASCAR on Fox for this season with a tip of the hat to our friend Dick Berggren. What a great career. Chris?
Straight in on the doorstep of every race fan across America as we send Dick off and welcome him to a new career. He's not really retiring. I'm just venturing into a different part of my life.
And who would you want running your museum rather than Dick Berggren? I mean, he has been a mainstay in Northeast motorsports his whole life, and I'm so glad that he's going to have his hand in that new place.
All the kidding about his age over the years. He's been a good sport. In fact, I think he was born in the Museum of Natural History. I kid. One last time, Dick. All right, thanks for all your help here. We'll continue. NASCAR on Fox. We'll check the point standings and a send-off for our colleagues here. Old five-time Jimmie Johnson is in the right place. He only won 2 races last year when he missed out on a championship. Already 2 wins now this year after 13, and looking like Team Hendrick and Jimmie Johnson in championship form. Maybe we'll be calling him 6-time at some point. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. still looking for that first win. Our Chris Devoda standing by.
Well, this is a racetrack that Dale Jr. likes, but hasn't always had great results at. Today, a top 5. I know you were loose on that last run. Was that the difference? Could you have gone after the 48 if you had that just tightened up a little bit?
I don't think anybody could but Jeff. Man, that 24 was fast. I know they're disappointed. They did such a great job. That car was amazing. Jimmy did a good job. Real happy for Hendrick Motorsports and Rick, everybody, all the employees. We got the fastest cars in the business right now. They ought to be real proud. But we were just a little loose on braking, getting into the corner, and couldn't really challenge Matt or anybody really around us. We were all, wherever you kind of settled in after the restart is kind of where you were. And we had a good car, though. We had good speed. And, I want to thank AMP. I miss his stuff. And Diet Mountain Dew and National Guard, all our sponsors. It was a good day for us. Good points day. I run as hard as I can run. I didn't have nothing left. We're getting close. We're finishing good when we're not winning, So I can't complain too much about how we're doing, and we got some tricky tracks coming up for us. This, summer months aren't really my thing, but the tracks at least. So hopefully we can have some more good runs.
Dale Jr. called his teammates the stars of the business, but he also said they are very close.
Thanks, Krista. And Junior checking the points halfway to the chase. Greg Biffle hangs on, but just by 1 point over Matt Kenseth. Junior's third.
Yeah, Roush Fenway up at the top. Look down at the bottom. Carl Edwards has fallen out of that top 10. We talked about it before the race started. He's been on his heels as of late, as has Tony Stewart, and both those guys had big trouble today.
4 drivers that are out in that top 10 that don't have victories. Earnhardt Jr., one of those with Truex, Harvick, and now Clint Boyer. At this point, who's your championship pick after what we saw today?
Well, I mean, I hate to be a fair-weathered friend, but Jimmie Johnson...
It's tough to go against Jimmie Johnson.
They got on a roll ever since they got the burden of winning that 200th race for Mr. Hendrick out of the way. They've been on it. And Jimmie Johnson today looked like the championship guy we've seen 2 years ago. I love the way he ran at this track today. And remember, Chris, this track's in the chase, so they got a lot of good notes for when they come back here in the fall.
Tough to judge Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards. They did not have a good day. Neither one of them look like they're in their championship form. We have a long way to go before we even get to the chase.
Yeah, and Denny Hamlin stumbled a little bit today, but I talked to Denny before the race, and he said, if I could just get a top 20, a solid top 20, and get out here, I'll be happy. So I love how these guys know their strengths and weaknesses. Denny didn't like this place. He hadn't run here well here in the past. He got out of here with a top 20, so some momentum as he goes on to Pocono, even though the finish wasn't what you'd expected.
Denny Hamlin, one of the 2-time winners over this first stretch, along with Tony Stewart, a turnaround story just like Greg Biffle, hanging on to that points lead. Remember, last year he was not in the chase and did not have a win overall. Tonight on Fox, animation domination, just like Jimmie Johnson dominated today. American Dad, and close it out with Family Guy. Next Saturday, baseball night in America, highlighted with prime-time action, the Mets and Yankees. Johan Santana pitching that first-ever no-hitter this week for the Mets. Also, those 2 Florida teams, the Rays and the Marlins, going at it among the games you'll be seeing. And next over on Speed for continuing race coverage from Dover. Tune in to Victory Lane on Speed. Well, in summation of the season, Jimmie Johnson gets into gear. Matt Kenseth started with a win at the Daytona 500. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards continuing to struggle a bit. Our thanks to Brian France, Mike Helton, the drivers, and the viewers in the NASCAR family. We wish our colleagues at TNT and ESPN well with their coverage of the races each week all the way through the Sprint Cup Championship.